Hey, how's everyone doing? I'm just telling people on social media I'm going live. I hope everything is working. I switched the microphone over to this side so I don't keep bopping it with my pencil. I'm gonna call my buddy Mike. Stand by. God, that guy's probably still sitting in the bathroom somewhere. Alright, he'll call me when he's ready. Alright, kids. How are you doing? Oh, there's only, I guess there's only a handful of us in here tonight, so we're just gonna say hello to everybody that's inside the room. Hello, chat. JK, good evening. Everything Shivers. Storytime, how are you? Good evening, Luca. Good evening, how are you? That's an aloha from you. I'm gonna suspect that you're somewhere in the Pacific Islands. Trash. Excuse me, I'm doing a little bit of housekeeping on my desktop. And I hope that the music isn't too obnoxiously loud for everybody. I do hope you will tell me if it is. Wanza, how are you? Good evening. Get rid of this. And then I'm gonna get to the business of drawing. Good evening, Donald. How are you? I'm never gonna get used to that avatar. I think it's a baby with a... I think it's a caricature of you in diapers. Gabe Tran, how are you? Good evening. Is everything working? Volume. It's light music in the back. The music is loud? Here we go. There we go. Music is better. For my friend David Tran, who has music listening issues. Can't be that loud, right? All right, how about now? Still loud? I can barely hear it. Hey, there we go. Here comes Mike. Stand by. Hey.
Hello.
I'm gonna turn you up because you seem awful low, baby.
Turn me up. What's up, everybody?
You are turned up. This is the Maverick to my Goose, the Orlando Bloom to my little dwarf from Lord of the Rings. What person are you to me, Mike? You are the Danny DeVito to my Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm making a Batman Returns reference.
No. Oh no, I'm the Danny DeVito to your Schwarzenegger.
I think it's the other way, buddy. All right, what are we talking about today? What's good to talk about?
What was that Frank Cho thing that Dave dropped in our chat?
I don't know. Dave's a kooky dude. Dave finds the most innocuous things. I'm like, guys, this is relevant.
Hey, Dave fucking Tran in the chat. What's up, Donald? What's up, William? What's up, Luca? What's up, Canese? What's up, JK? What's up, everybody? Hello.
All right, did I say hey to everybody? Yes. It's a self-portrait, a big dumb fat head monkey. Cool, says all good. Thank you so much. Canese, how are you? Good evening. William, how are you? What's up, Canete? That sounds like some nice crunchy fuzz. Thank you. All right, I can draw. I can draw if we're not talking about anything in specific. I just saw something recent. Oh, did you know that, hey Deviant, how are you? Good evening. Did you know that Warren Ellis is finally starting to write comics again?
Oh, shit, really? I didn't know that.
I hope he is. I think the talk is right now that him and Ben Templesmith are going to be doing something again. Now here's the annoying part. I do too, man. That guy, and the best part about Templesmith is that he's just leveled up craft. In the times that I'd known him, he was a bit I don't want to say cartoonish, but definitely 30 Days of Night back in the day, right? I mean that feels like ages ago. But what he's doing now, he's sort of rounded off a lot of rough edges with his work. He's amazing. Anyway, they're back to making comics again, which is encouraging.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is encouraging.
Hey, is the good Eric Bonhomme in your chat? Because he's in my chat, dude.
Our beautiful chocolate cowboy.
Yeah.
Eric Bonham.
Yeah.
I don't know where. Listen, he's elusive.
No. He's in my chat, baby.
Listen, man. Who knows how long he'll stay there for?
Oh, that's true. He's very aloof.
He migrates. Yeah, he is.
He's wherever his arousals take him. Which storage iPad am I using? I don't remember. I gotta be perfectly honest with you. But it was the previous model, pre-M1 chip. So probably the highest end one, as far as when it's still on the previous chip.
Is that Michael's voice
I'm hearing? Yes, it is. You wished for it, and now that it's here. IBI, how are you? Good evening. Hope he does more Cemetery Beach with Jason Howard. I don't know that title. Is it any good? I'm way behind. In as far as my comics are concerned. I was on a weekend sort of comics roundup this Saturday, Mike. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that.
There's a show,
What
there's a
y'all,
YouTube channel called Thinking Critical, and it's done by Wes. Amazing guy, freaking hilarious. And really super informative. I like the energy that guy gives out because it comes from a really enthusiastic place. When it comes to, the channel is called Thinking Critical, and the energy that it comes off is like he loves comics, obviously, and he just reviews them, And it's not coming. I don't believe that it's coming from a harsh critical place. He likes what he likes, and there was a good amount of subject matters that we talked about, so much so that he gave me a list pre-show, or actually a couple days before the show, and I'm so behind on current comic book topics that I had to look it up, like a bunch of the stuff that he was talking about,
Oh wow. Okay.
But what's great is
In the
that,
same boat.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think you have your finger on the pulse more than I do. So anyway, I had to look the thing up, all the stuff, and I still have my notes here. So maybe I can backtrack a few, and you and I can talk about it.
Yeah, drop it.
Let's
see.
So one of the things that he talked about, right, is the idea of all of it. This was last week, so this is already, as far as like long-term, short-term memory of like the comic book public, this is already like, this is bygone already, right? Nobody even remembers talking about this. It was all of like
Ancient.
4 days ago. Yeah, exactly. It's ancient. Yeah. They were talking about the topic of the week last week. I don't know if you recall, was all the piracy of comics.
Oh.
Do you remember that? See, the fact that you can't even remember, the fact that you had to go like, oh,
Yes, correct. Piracy.
But piracy was a big deal. And
Last week, yes.
my opinion was that the reason why piracy comes up and people sit there and be like, oh, they make it emotional all the time. And he was talking specifically about Eric Larson's post, basically saying, hey, people are working really, really hard and you're taking money out of their pocket by stealing. And in a way, I don't disagree with him, but to what extent, he has no idea, Nobody does, right? Nobody knows that just because it's out in the high seas, that just because somebody's downloading or pirating it, that it's literally like, is it taking 10 cents out of some guy's mouth? Is it taking $500 out of some guy's mouth? But I think at its core, I believe in what he's saying, right? So it's multiple parts. First, the only reason these guys have such a fit when it comes to piracy and make the conversation emotional, like, hey, you're taking money out of blah, 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 blah's mouth, right? Is because your fucking industry is busted.
It's fucking failing. Yeah, the industry is, the walls are crumbling around you.
You're right,
and
right.
You're looking to point the finger.
And you guys had multiple years to work on it, to make sure that at the very least it's a successful endeavor across the board. And it's not to say you're going to help everybody, but at the very least, you guys are at the front. And by you guys, I mean like mainstream publishing. You guys are at the front end of what's considered to be Western publishing, or Western comic book publishing, And I remember talking to Perch. Have you ever listened to Perch's channel before?
I have. I've caught a few of Perch's
Great guy.
streams or channel.
Great guy. I like his insights. There are plenty of things that I don't necessarily agree with. Yeah, but for the most part, level-headed, really straight. I believe that he's a straight shooter. And I remember talking to him when he brought me onto his channel, just offline, like in the green room, so to speak. And he was talking to me about how years and years ago, Japan had started to set up the infrastructure of what it meant to read their manga on mobile. Now, this was in a day and age of like flip phones. You know what I mean, Mike? So say that it was suboptimal, to say that it was not the best sort of reading experience, audience experience, is giving it to way more credit, right? But here's the thing.
Yeah.
The people in that space, the people who actually cared about the business of publishing, thought to themselves, we'd better get on this now and learn how to do this well. Because right now, the technology isn't good enough for us to have a pretty seamless experience when it comes to the reading audience. Things are like, come on, flip phone screen technology, everything was like dot matrix almost,
It was terrible.
Awful, awful. But the
Yeah,
point
it's like
was,
reading a comic book on a Game Boy.
oh, exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. You might as well fucking read shit on like a Tetris screen, you know? Anyway, the point was they wanted to set up the infrastructure so that when technology caught up to them, they were well ahead of the curve. And I wish I could ask Perch, and I don't know if he's an audience or not, but I wish I could ask Perch what year that was that they started putting, pillars in the ground, sort of seeds in the dirt, you know? Because lo and
Yes.
behold, fast forward to now, the technology did catch up to the reading experience. And now they have just as much of a robust audience on their mobile platforms as they do in their traditional printing platforms. Right?
Would you look at that?
Right. Oh my gosh, they
fucking
believed
look
in
at
their
that.
product, they believed in their industry, they believed in the actual thing that is publishing, and wow. So yeah, maybe they took a loss. I don't know exactly what their business model looked like. I don't have their financials sitting in front of me, so I don't know how much money they lost. But they knew we need to invest in this thing because eventually, when the things that we need to line up eventually catch up to the technology, we're going to be in a pretty good place. It's a pretty good space. And lo and behold, there they were. And so that's what we were talking about. Like, you had plenty of opportunities as an industry to realize we're probably moving into a space. And one of the key things that you should have and I thought about this after the stream. One of the key things that should have cued you in was Blockbuster Video going out of business and everything going to Netflix. If there was any forward-thinking people in that space, right? And identify, it doesn't even have to be that abstract. You could literally look at the music industry. Trends were changing. And I'm not saying use their game plan, but trends were changing, right? But nobody ever said, hey, maybe we should make an investment in this space. As a matter of fact, rather than saying, okay, this is going to cost us a little bit of money.
Opposite.
Exactly. They doubled down on the broken system. And this was in a time, of their comic book publishing when they were not as dire as far as finances are concerned as they are now.
They had wiggle room.
Absolutely. They had time to build.
You know,
Go ahead.
Dude, you know how much I'm getting worked up because I remember the numbers now. So we all, like, everybody with two fucking brain cells to smush together saw that publishing was dying across the board. Bookstores going out of business, dude. Old media was in its death throes, right? And it kicked off with Napster, Blockbuster. You see it, nobody's unaffected, and yet comic books managed to stave it off. Like the battle in fucking Helm's Deep. It was 2008. The globe, there was a global recession in 08. And if you look back at the Comicron numbers, back when they were still around, comic books did well. Comic books actually managed to pull out ahead of the curve in an area where everyone around them was dead. So they had so much more time than anyone else to prepare for this. And they fucking pissed it away, dude. They pissed away all of it. Sorry.
Their runway was pretty long, right? But instead of thinking and saying, like, again, we may not do this right now, but eventually when this catches up to our technology, or when the technology catches up to us, this is going to be great. And it takes a dedicated department to go, you know, when you're looking through your books at the end of the year going like, oh my gosh, digital publishing is taking a crap right now. But somebody has to sit there and go, ladies and gentlemen, we believe in this endeavor because we are not planning for 2 years from now. We are planning for 10 years from now.
Yes.
Right? And I know that's a lot easier said than done, but certainly my point is if you believed in your industry, if you believed in your product and your IP, and if you believed in your publishing strategy, that should have been inherently built into your long-term runway. Right?
It is. And it's one thing if you're like in 1997, the internet is like 3 years old collectively, right? And it's ubiquity. Be like, hey guys, we got to think about the future. And be like, yeah. But like the years roll on. 99, 2000, 2001, 2006, 2005, 2007, the iPhone comes out. Hey guys, remember 10 years ago? It's like, maybe now we should. No. And then we're in the 2010s, 2010s, and still nothing. And matter of fact, Eric, you know this as well as anybody else in the comic book industry. When it comes to the direct market, and the big two especially, and their relationship to digital versus traditional, they actively hobbled their own digital growth because of the comic book stores.
Correct.
They didn't want the comic book stores to suffer, so they actively made digital comic books as expensive and hard, and they made it as unsavory and as unappetizing as possible. So they made it not only did they not create a space where they could for longevity and survival in this new digital world, they actively rallied against it so that anybody out there who could see that, hey, I don't want to spend $5 on a comic book,
Right.
and I definitely don't want to spend the same $5 to not own the actual comic book and just to read it online.
Right.
This is terrible.
Right.
It's a bad idea.
Right. Now here's what they see, like strategy, it's all about strategy, right? So here's the thing. I understand why you have to be careful and nurture that relationship for your brick and mortar, the local comic book stores, right? Your LCSs, right? Because in a way, they are the ones that helped you keep the lights on when things weren't working out, weren't as hot, right? They stayed by you, and that makes a lot of sense. But your strategy should have been to say, we have a massive, massive catalog, right? Yeah. So, okay, we won't knock out your knees from under you with these new releases. You know what I mean? We won't do that to you. First week, whatever it is, a month later, what have you, right? But we do have a massive library in which you can access a ton of it for a fixed amount, similar to Netflix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could have said, okay,
Yes.
First week stuff, you're probably not going to get it until, 2 or 3 weeks later, whatever it is that you ended up working out, so that these LCS guys don't get pissed off at you. But what you also had was a library in which you could have given access to a ton of different people if you messaged it outright, if you socialized it outright. Hey, by the way, have you got a cell phone? You can access the entire Marvel Comics library.
Right.
Right? Everything that we've done between 19 whatever to like the most recent ones that's not going to hobble the LCSs, you can have access to it. And eventually it'll just catch up. That's how you build in the back end. That's how you build in an audience that wants to test out your technology. You do it for dirt, as close to dirt cheap as possible. And then you establish a community around it. You establish a habit around it. Oh, every month I get to pay off. It's just basically a subscription service. I can pay off, I can pay X amount and I get the access to Marvel. And here's it's still something that Marvel does, and it makes mainstream comics does, but Marvel is the most guilty one of it. They hype something up really hard as if it's the next coming of whomever, but as soon as it's out, they just fucking forget. They have have the memory of like moths, They don't continue the hype behind it. So if you do have a digital subscription service, you keep at it until it becomes eventually a version of iTunes, where people go, I don't need the entire library. I just need that one song. Now, there's no direct analog to comics for that. You're not going to say like, okay, I don't need all 22 pages. I just need the 5 pages that have the X, Y, and Z. And that's not how it works. But you do give them access for less than what they could possibly get it for elsewhere. I think there's a way to do it, but you have to believe in your product.
Yes. Yeah, no, man, just when you look to see who is responsible for the decline in the industry, there is no shortage of people to own up to it. It's not one person, it's just failure after failure after failure of people refusing to look the reality of the situation in the face.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can't do it now. It's too late.
Yeah, no, it's too late. It's too fucking late, dude. The Titanic has already hit the iceberg. The fucking the lower decks are flooded.
You're done. You've pretty much you had there was a sweet window, and that window wasn't narrow by any means. You guys were making money hand over fist.
Yes.
And you guys couldn't think to like, how do we get ourselves into a space in which this thing, this isn't even essential, you know? How do we get people hooked onto this, and how do we get more butts in seats? All right, let me catch up with chat real quick.
No, you know what? Instead what they did was, you know what? Hey, I know more variant covers. Hey, the thing that people hated in the '90s. Guys, remember that thing right before the first comic book bubble burst in the '90s? You do like 20 variant covers and make them, you know, super rare, and you make them all kind of like simultaneously expensive and worthless at the same time. Let's do that. Oh, you know what? I know what'll keep the numbers up. We keep relaunching with number ones.
Yeah.
You know, Miss Marvel sucks. People stop. I know.
That is the
new number one.
That is effectively the business exercise of desperation. Anyway, okay, let me catch up with chat. I'm still waiting on the iPad. Love that pre-order. Pre-ordered and still waiting. Oh yeah, right. There is actually a shortage of microchips right now. And
there is. For everybody.
You might be waiting just a tiny bit longer, Luca. Good luck, but I'm excited for you once you get it. Tell me how we save the American comics. So many articles talk about the fall to manga, mostly when referring to the big two. Is it access? Is it lack of new fan base? Is it access? Is it lack of new fan base? The answer is probably. There's no way to 100% proof out whether or not it's the lack of access, or if there is if there's a new fan base that's just opting not to buy American comics. So what do you do to make sure? And here's the other question in regards to somebody replying to Eric Larson. And by the way, it was the weird conversational pivot, right? They said,
"Oh, tell me, yeah, no."
Let me go back to all of 10 minutes ago. So Larson said, "Hey, by the way, as soon as you do that, it's considered theft. There's no other way around it, right?" And this relates to what Teddy has mentioned in chat here. But somebody said, "Well, what do you think about the fact that Marvel is doing all of these predatory things by launching like 13 books?" And I'm all like, "What a stupid reply." So what you're saying is because Marvel is doing their predatory bullshit, it's okay for people to pirate comics?
You know, listen. I'm a pirate, allegedly.
Oh, I know you
I would
are.
never admit to
I know
doing
you are.
anything
I've reported you
I'm
multiple
obviously
times. I'm surprised I haven't picked you up yet.
I'm obviously making a joke. I would never confess to do anything illegal or illicit on stream. I always obey the law.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
if I were hypothetically a pirate,
Yes.
allegedly,
Yeah.
there's no amount of woe is me. I now get to steal this that I could give you for any level of justification.
For sure.
Because there isn't.
Yeah.
You don't need this. You're not Aladdin stealing some bread for yourself and your monkey in the streets of Agrabah. You're not Robin Hood.
Right.
You're not saving anybody.
Right.
You are greedy. You're being greedy and selfish.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah.
You could admit to it.
Yeah, just say, hey, I'm a thief, and
I want this. But yeah,
it's okay. That's the difference, though, right,
be
Mike?
honest.
Whereas, like, as soon as you start making excuses for why you're stealing, and by the way, in the example that you gave of Aladdin, that was actually food, and that dude was starving, so I get it, right? That guy's got to eat, right? He's got a whole big song at the beginning about it. But this dude is stealing comics, which is effectively a luxury. A luxury.
Is he eating the comics?
You know, this isn't like, oh, fuck, I gotta steal my comics so I can keep the lights on. You know, it's like I gotta steal comics, right? What are you, stupid? You know?
Listen, Eric, I had to read.
I had to do it, man.
Miles Morales, Eric.
So here's the other thing, too.
I had no choice.
And this was in a completely different thread, and I'm all over the place here, but please forgive me, right? But somebody was justifying why they would steal their comics, even after somebody said, hey, a subscription to Comixology is $10 a month. It's not really all that expensive. You should do it. And they said, well, in the country that I come from, the daily, the monthly income is blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're missing the point, dude.
Yeah.
You're still stealing comics. Right? We're not talking about, hey man, I'm taking somebody's I'm tapping into somebody else's electrical line because without it I can't keep the stove on and I can't cook stuff and I can't take care of my family. Right. That is extreme. That is actually, I can oh fuck man, you better go do that shit, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty dark. Yeah.
But you're fucking stealing a luxury.
You're stealing comic books, man.
And you're trying to
Yogi says he's
justify
Jean
it.
Valjean.
Yeah, and you're trying to justify it. Anyway, that's somebody else altogether. But the same exact dude that said like, "Hey, what do you think about, Marvel's predatory, whatever, right? Their predatory exercises of releasing books that don't, like at 20 these what do you call it? These big event books that ultimately lead out to nowhere. The same look at my fucking face. Look at me. The same
Look at his face.
answer still applies. Nothing says you have to steal it. You dummy.
No.
It doesn't belong to you. You can do without. Right? Marvel's predatory practices is independent of you thinking that you were entitled to steal it because they're predatory about it.
It's the entitlement.
Jesus Christ. What part of that are you not freaking understanding? I don't know why we're having this conversation. I'm like this weird, I don't know where people are going with all this stupid everything must be free for me. Templesmith draws some pretty nice monsters. Heck yeah, it does. Bonhomme is sneaky, 300%. Hello, Belle. Welcome. How are you? Ben Templesmith is one of the coolest dudes ever. Did a cover for me and for nothing when I drew Shadowhawk back in the day. That is awesome. He is a gentleman, an easygoing guy, super easy to talk to, super chill. The X amount of times I've run into him at conventions, he's never fell short of making time for me, so I'm appreciative of him. Hey Eric, would it be cool for you to be the guest of the night on Fragajune and Drawlong? Probably get a bunch of new people hyped for Arc Athena. I'm good friends with Dan if he'll have me over. The only thing is, William, can I be honest with you? The only reason I often feel awkward in being in those spaces, especially with guys like Ethan, especially guys like Dan, is because I don't have the same energy as they do, right? Those guys can go at 120 miles an hour, 200 miles an hour, and I am so stuck in my own head sometimes about thinking, like, there's a perfect example. Go to Thinking Critical's channel. Go to when they ask me a question and look at the blank look on my face as I think about what Wes is asking me, so I can I can really deconstruct what he's asked. There's a reason why I took notes for that stream, is because left to my own devices, I am never going to be able to keep up with those guys. And Wes made it sound so easy. He was like, "Oh, dude, it's easy when you're hanging out with like world-class bullshitters or whatever." I'm like, I'm not that guy. Especially if we're talking about a topic that I'm really super into, I really want to think about it. So yes, I would love to be on Dan's stream. Unfortunately, my fear is that I won't be able to keep up, and it won't be a very good show for him, and that's a disservice. Anytime that you ask me on to come onto your show, I would hope that I bring value, at the very least, entertainment, and at most information. But yeah, I'm good friends with Dan.
Yeah.
I bought it for Jason Howard's art, but ended up enjoying the book overall. Right on. Zach Hawkins, ahoy, Eric. I have your Boba Fett as my phone screen. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Hello, Strike Boy 99. Hey. Strike Boy's here. Atomic Bulldog is here.
What's up, Strike Boy?
Deviant Porg says that's what happened for the music and movies. They were late to the internet medium, but then used it well. Yeah, they knew how to pivot, man. It helps the Shonen Jump weekly app is $2 a month, and not only get access to brand new chapters, but their entire library, thousands of books. See, that was my point,
$2.
right? Minus the weekly, minus the stuff that comes out in the brand new chapters, right? You can draw, says everyone like Eric Larson in the mainstream industry were too busy fighting over Orange Man Band as their industry was burning to a cinder. That's only one part of it, right? To Mike's point, things were going well as far back as 2008 when the country was going through some weird recession. Mainstream comics was experiencing it was almost bulletproof to that. It was almost recession proof, right? Kakula says, hello, Mike, how are you? I think they priced it quite low, but with enough people, it was definitely worth. However, Saturday AM seems more appropriately priced per artist. Saturday AM. What's Saturday AM? Oh, versus Jump. I got you. It's probably the manga. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I'm following you, but I'm glad about it. Thank you so much, dude. Perez. I learned when I was in Trojan Horse Was a Unicorn. Somebody taught me how to say this person's name. It's J-O-A, but it has a tilde above it and an O.
Oh.
right?
Beats me.
JOAO. And I asked somebody, one of the attendants there, I'm like, oh, how do you say your name that's on your name tag? And I was memorizing it the entire weekend because I kept running into the cat. But for the life of me, I can't remember. Kevin Feige is technically the head of comic wing of Marvel right now. I wonder if he starts being a bit more hands-on with the Penguin switch. I think what's going to dictate that hands-onness that you're talking about, Bulldog, is probably going to be Penguin. Padrino, how are you? The whole brick and mortar versus digital is a prime example of the free market at work. I'm glad the government doesn't have a hand in it. I think it's, at one point I was really all about like making sure that digital was the way to go until somebody straightened me out and said like, it doesn't have to be one or the other, it can be both. Both things can be leveraged because at the end of the day, your mission, and here's the part that I forgot to say earlier, Mike, your mission is to, as a publisher, is to get comics into fans' hands, no matter what. Right? Especially if you're a mainstream person. If your mission is to make sure that your stories are being told and you're upholding your IP, it doesn't matter whether it's digital, it doesn't matter where it's in print. I'm a little slow, but does brick and mortar just mean print work only? The answer is yes. Michael's voice is a bit quiet on my stream. Let's bump up Mike some more.
Is it?
On my stream,
you
apparently you
okay?
are. I'll move you up, buddy. There we go. I think that's as high as I can put
Appreciate it. All right, I'll try do my best not to scream and shout.
Eric, would you say you have a 1 terabyte iPad? I can look it up. I can hit these buttons over here and figure out whether I do, but I don't know if I do. Hello, Brandon Wallace. How are you? You wouldn't download a comment. This is true. Just because someone's an asshat doesn't mean you have to punch him. That's 100% true. That's 100% true. Brandon Walton says, hello, Mike and Eric. Hello, Brandon. How are you? Just copped that new Arc Athena 1 to 5. Yeah. You're welcome to it if you can find
Eric,
it.
I want to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Have you thought about not releasing your book digitally to prevent piracy? I mean, because they could get the book and scan it page by page to upload it to torrent. They might even. I've seen it done before with certain Japanese books.
Yeah.
There are people willing to put the hours in to do that, which is some real dedication.
Yeah. And you almost have to give it to them.
That?
You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, if you're going to sit there and scan each and every single page, go ahead and put that shit up online. Are you saying as a measure of security, have I eliminated digital off of the... Have I taken digital off of the table?
Have you thought about it?
No, I took digital off of the table, and this is the honest to goodness truth, and I know this impacts people who are on the other side of either ocean, okay? I have a firm belief in the tactile experience of being able to hold this book, right? Yes. I believe that there is value in you being able to see how much love, care, and attention that we poured into this book, and it can only happen when it's a tangible thing, as opposed to having it be a digital experience. Now I know the story. I just said this all of 2 minutes ago, which is like, if my goal is to get if the goal is to get the book into your fans' hands, then you'd find a way. So let's say this, and I think I can live up to this for the time being. Probably through the duration of the first 5 books, duration of the campaigns, I don't have any plans of releasing something digitally, not for the security the reasons that Mike is talking about now, but primarily because I just want you to see the book in your hand. Because a lot of different people on the pre-production end are going through the trouble of just making this thing look as pretty and as worth as you possibly can. Now, what can I do in order to entice you to get that? Let's say you're on the other side of the ocean, and we know the shipping handling charges are pretty astronomical depending on where you are, right? Or it's definitely up for consideration. What I can do is lower the price of the books as best as I possibly can. And that it will not just, and give you, and I hope that this is an enticing feature for you, not have you wait 8 months from now. Does that make sense? The part of the enticement is to say, as soon as you hit buy, at the end of that campaign, which is you and I have yet to decide whether or not it's going to be 30 days or 60 days, Mike. But as soon as that happened, in about 6 days, 7 days, you'll have your book. I hope that's enough of a I hope that tilts the scales in the favor of you actually buying the physical copy, even though you're on the other side of the world and even though the shipping and handling charges are considerable. I hope so. Does that answer your question, Mo?
It does.
Brendan Wallace says, yeah, thieving
right.
comics is even worse than the media because you're stealing from a significantly smaller pool. Yeah, sure, we can go down the rabbit hole about that, Brendan, which is, yeah, look at the people. I also heard somebody say, like, if I'm stealing for, I won't steal from guys who are smaller publishers, smaller creators, but I don't mind stealing from Marvel or corporate comics or big. I'm like, man, just anything that you can do to justify your fucking shit,
Right. Well, here's the thing, man.
Sweet
People
Tooth,
don't like
how are
taking
you?
responsibility.
Say that again?
People don't like taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Especially if it's for bad behavior.
Yeah,
Because it doesn't make you feel good. And it paints yourself in a bad light. People like to think of themselves as the protagonist of the story.
Yeah.
It's-
I really believe they're just trying to find justification for this thing that they know is poor in character, but they want to be okay with it, and they're trying to convince people that it's all right,
Right.
Where does the element of
themselves that it's okay,
collectability
too.
come into comic book popularity? Should that notion be abandoned? Is manga bought for its collectible value? That's a great conversation to have. Where does collectability go if things are being distributed digitally as opposed to physically? And that's the reason why I go, like, it's not one or the other, it can be both, right? So that you can scratch that collectability itch, in as much as it becomes more of a boutique concept, right? Because the entire comic book buying market are not collectors. I don't know. I don't have enough data on hand to understand how much of them are just reading it and enjoying it, and how much of them are looking at it as a potential investment of money, right? But I would think safely, and I would love to have some of the guys that join me on Saturday morning from like Doc to Pele. They're what do you call it? They're retailers and collectors. I would like to know from their perspective how much of the comic book buying market are actual collectors of it, or how much of them are readers, or how much of them are both. Raul, how are you? Good evening, man. Thank you for being here. El Padrino says,
Hey, Padrino.
Joao, is that how you pronounce that name? Right on. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Today, I usually buy a series for collective value and sentimentality. I usually read online for manga and their apps, right? Then buy the entire series if it was really impactful for me. But that's just you, okay? Eric, do you use a rake brush for your hatching, or is it a single stroke at a time? I love technical questions. Sometimes it's a rake brush, and sometimes it's single stroke, depending on the effect that I'm going for. So if I'm going for more of a mechanical render, in which I am, I actually have 3 rake brushes, and I'll show them to you. Stand by. I'll do it on this page, and I will just turn this part off. Okay, so I actually have 3 rake brushes. One is less mechanical, and it looks like this, right? The other one is a bit more technical, again, more mechanical, and it looks like this. See that? And then there is there's the one where I just kind of render it because I wanted to have a more spontaneous and organic feathering, like so. Does that make sense? I hope that was helpful. Kakawa says, I think you're right, although I would go as far to say there are some collections of manga which are in rarity, so they do sometimes act like Western comics in a sense. Keith says, I despise digital comics. I'm looking to have this screen to my face. That's right. Right. Everybody has their preferences in regards to how they consume their media. And if successful businesses know how to leverage not just one part of it, but all of it, Like looking for all you need is kill is hard because you can only find it as fully collect print. Right on. How did you develop your use of perspective in your drawings? Was there a particular artist that inspired your extreme perspective? Thanks for that question, Patricia. I'm one of my mentors growing up one of my mentors professionally growing up in the animation industry is Peter Chung, who's the creator, illustrator, storyboard artist, and director for Aeon Flux. And that's what drew me into his work was just the perspective that he would use, oftentimes like down shots and 3-point. So yeah, if you see any of that stuff coming through in my work, let's say even as obviously as this page, this is all Peter Chung inspired. Okay, so this issue took a little bit of massaging because, first of all, and I think I spoke about this last week, but just very briefly, I plan on each book to be 48 story pages, right? But 64 page total for each chapter, for chapters 1 through 5, right? One, because the signatures allow for that to be more cost effective if the final page count comes out to 64. So in doing so, I'd come to realize that some of these books were clocking in just under 43 story pages. And by the way, that's supplementary material that makes it go all the way up to 64. That's not going to be like a reprint of the cover in black, and it's not going to be like the color version of the cover in black. It's not going to be like more of the same where it's just going to seem like filler. It's actually going to be behind the scenes stuff. It's actually going to be like sketches. It may be, photo or scans of my script. It's going to be like pre-production work. So there's really going to be value for seeing the behind the scenes. And in some occasions, I'll even include the rough pencils for the pages themselves. So it won't be so blatantly and disgustingly repetitive, right? Okay, so now that I had room, and as a matter of fact, it was for the great benefit of the story that I managed to say, hey, look, I have 5 extra pages to put back into this book, 5 story pages that I put back into this book. Because after talking with Joe Fulton, who's the editor of the book, when he went through the first 4 scripts, he was like, Eric, I understand the themes that you're going through. I understand the characters and the relationship that you're trying to build up. But the one that you wanted to highlight isn't landing as well as it could. It's a little thin. And I'm like, yes, Joe, I'd actually come to identify that. And now that I have about 5 more pages at my disposal, it's an opportunity for me to go back and touch that up and really shore up their relationship, really shore up that narrative, that you have an understanding. And then hopefully, based on that, you end up caring more about them towards the end, That said, that's the pages that I worked on last week. So part of the motivation for having the stream is so that I can give you guys an update on what I've been working on, because I just don't, it's almost, what's the best way to say it, Mike? It's almost like I'm holding myself accountable by presenting what I worked on during the week to the people who will potentially end up supporting the crowdfunding campaign, right? So this is one of those. This is one of those opportunities, and I can show you where I made those changes. Like for instance, this page already existed pre that discovery of being able to add more pages, but it actually got moved forward, and this top panel got changed around. The close up on Divana's eyes there. And all of these pages that we're going to be cycling through now are all brand new. Designing this bar was hell. Because I needed it to be, from a storytelling standpoint, I needed it to be as clear as possible. But here's how I almost got myself into trouble. Check this out, Mike. I don't know if you can see my stream. But once I introduced that Gristle was on the right-hand side, the cinematic right-hand side, or excuse me, left-hand side of the screen, and I was going to have him sit at the bar with Divana, it was such a logistic nightmare to try to make sure that he stayed screen left the entire time, just so you wouldn't get lost as we're bouncing back and forth with their dialogue. So that was a great challenge.
You didn't break the 180 rule.
I try not to. I try my very best not to.
Does the chat know what the 180 rule is?
I believe that they do. Gosh, I hope they do. So as soon as I introduced that Gristle's on the left-hand side of the screen, and that Divana's on the right-hand side of the screen, it was a challenge to have them stay there this entire time, so you have a clear understanding of who's talking, even though I cut away from them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's such great opportunities to explain character, you know? Here's something, and I get really excited about this stuff, Mike, and forgive me if I what do you call it? If I overdo it, right? But I think the crowd will be able to, excuse me, the readers will be able to pick this up, right? There is this scene in which Gristle comes and visits Divana for the first, or in the story, right? And the scene is just about two people who are leading their teams, one of whom happens to have I would say a what do you call it, an experience advantage, right, over the other one, right? So there is this bit where he comes over and to apologize to her for something that he had done previously in the previous issues, right? I'm not giving anything away, but like they're just drinking at this bar, you know, and I imply that she's taking shot after shot after shot because of like what had happened to an event that happened to her in the previous issues, and Gristle is just nursing the hell out of this one shot in front of him. Does that make sense? He's not even drinking it at all, right? But he understands in order for them to have the kind of conversation that they need to have, she needs to have that alcohol in her system. Right? This is the thing that he's there for. If he's ever going to get through to her and have this really good conversation with her, this really good heart to heart, he understands that that's part of her process. So he just sits and waits. Does that make sense? And so by the end of these scenes, by the end of when they're about to break, he puts the shot glass back down and it's still completely full.
Nice. I like it.
I love that kind of shit, man.
Oh, that's good. I know. Yeah, I looked at these pages the other day, and I did not pick that up, man.
Okay, so I had about 5 pages there that I needed to add. That was a great opportunity to show character, to show acting, to show relationship and dialogue and their regard for each other. And then I cut right back into the fucking... cut right back into the fighting.
I like your use of halftone.
Which bit? Do you see me using halftone? Where do you see it?
Well, it looked like it was halftone. That last panel on the previous page, the bottom panel, it looked like halftone. It looked like texture.
Oh, this one. Yeah. Yeah, just to have them in the foreground.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just literally a framing element for her in the background. Okay, so these were the pages that I worked on this week, and a bit of renumbering and rearranging, and I can cycle through them again so that the folks in chat can see it. But this is issue 4, so technically, officially, now issue 4 is done art-wise, unless I just jinxed it, right? Like. Ooh, I get to change this. Somebody actually brought this to my attention. It's little things like this that make me laugh a bit, in as far as what people are paying attention to in my art, right? So I sent this out just as a, hey man, check this out, tell me what you think kind of a thing, right? And I sent it out to a guy who has a military background, right? And he said, Eric, that flag that you put in one of the pilot's helmet, right, is off.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean, right? And he said it actually goes backwards on that side of their helmet. Isn't that crazy?
What? It goes the other way?
It goes backwards, yeah, on the other side of their helmet. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. And they sent me reference. And I was like, oh, holy shit, you're right. Now, only a guy who has that military experience, who has that military background, would know the little tiny things like that. And he was kind enough to point it out to me. So thank you very much.
That is awesome. That's so cool.
You can actually see it in a couple of, if you look up reference, you can see it in a couple of operators' patches on their shoulders.
Did they say why? It's backwards?
No, you know what? I should have asked. I should have asked.
Where's your sense of curiosity?
I know, man. I know. I just felt like I lucked out because somebody shared that information with me. You know, I was like, oh, I'd better change that. And I've been cycling through the pages already, and it never dawned on me to, or I just had forgotten to change it. But now I'm like, oh, I'm going to change it right now because before I forget. You know.
No, it's important. It's like when you see the backwards flags on ambulances and police cars. I never got that. Hey, John Moore, how come you're not in voice chat?
Hey, what are you doing, John?
He thinks he's too good for us, I think.
I think so, too.
Mr. Webtoons over here.
I know, Mr. 1 million fucking concurrent followers or whatever the fuck, you know?
Isn't it so that you could see them in a reflected surface like a mirror?
As far as ambulances are concerned, or
it
as far as military, the military flag is concerned, I honestly don't know. Like, the ambulance one being backwards, yes, that makes a lot of sense. When they're like
That makes sense.
rushing behind you at 120 miles an hour, that makes a lot of sense. But as far as the military flag facing the other way, I'm not exactly sure why. It can't just be aesthetic. There's got to be a reason for it. The military has a reason for a lot of their signage, you know. Okay, let me catch up with chat and then I can start drawing. Here we go. Who did I miss? Who did I miss? Did I already say hello to Chauncey? If not, hello, how are you? Akira is the number one
Chauncey.
selling for over $1,000 in 9.8 grade. Holy crap. Let's see here. Blame Manga is also pretty high priced at the moment, right on. Peter Chung, pretty cool, that's right. Damn, Eric, getting Gerard with it. Oh, you're talking about the rendering. That's high praise. Thank you so much. Do you know Gerard's work at all, Mike?
Zaf, that guy?
He's the guy that does all the environments, the backgrounds on Dave Sim's work on Cerebus.
No, I didn't. I don't think I'm familiar.
If you look at the way Cerebus looked in the beginning, that was all Dave Sim. Now, towards book 3, maybe even as quickly as book 2, he had an environment guy coming in, I think is an architect, because just the way he renders things with cross-hatching, you know those architectural cross-hatching lines? This stuff looks gorgeous, dude.
Yeah.
You'll freaking love it, but that's high praise, so thank you so much. What About says, looks awesome, thank you so much. Kakova says, what is the 180 rule? Huh. I could try to explain it to you.
We found one.
We found one. Raul says, very cool pages. Black and white pages are for the win. Thank you so much. Love seeing your pages, Eric. They are awesome. Thank you, Belle. Really appreciate it. Lucas is so freaking beautiful. Thank you, Luca. Toon says, love the thick lines. Really, really appreciate that, man. Thank you, thank you. Hello, just wanted to say hello and thanks for streaming. Hello, John Moore. Good evening. Why are you not in chat? That shot with the mechs going up to the ship is crazy. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. El Pedrino says, these are awesome. Appreciate that. Thank you so much, man. Raise your hand if you're going to buy color and black and white versions if you can. There is going to be a black and white version in color. The color book is going to be the traditional comic book. It's in hardcover, 64 pages in total, and there's going to be an artist edition that's going to measure 11 by 17. So yes, both of those things will be available to you. Sean Moore says,
Donald
you're the
says
bestest.
The flags...
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, no. Donald says the flag sits in reverse direction because it represents them always moving forward.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, Scoop says, yes, it's as if it's on a flagpole. Oh, I see.
I
So
gotcha.
it's like a... That's cool. That's fucking cool. I hope that's true. Is Donald a military man?
I don't know.
Donald, did you serve?
Bad printing order. So in order to save face, the person presented it this way for the helmets. Yeah, right. First responder, the flag follows them. Oh, interesting. Eric, did you already talk about the He-Man trailer? Which He-Man trailer? The one with the I Need a Hero song? We talked about that, didn't we, Mike? A couple weeks back on your on your podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it very briefly, and I can tell you what I said then, which is like, I did that show already.
Yeah, you did. 20 years ago.
I did that shit in 2005. I worked on the relaunch for Masters of the Universe, He-Man Master of the Universe. I looked at that show, or the trailer, and even though there's a brighter, it's like a prettier, more updated polish on it, there wasn't anything on there that made me go like, oh, I don't remember it not doing that shot. That's so revolutionary and brave. It's just the 2021 version, you know? So, I'm a huge fan of He-Man. I'm just not a huge fan of, like, regurgitated stuff.
Donald says, Mike, it's true. I'm not in the military, but I know plenty who are.
Flag sits that reverse direction because it represents them always moving forward. Is that what you're talking about, Mike?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Jasper Plan 9, how are you? Good evening. It's the only time the stars should be facing right on. Gerard began Cerebus backgrounds with issue number 65. This background work on Cerebus is amazing. The answer is, I mean, I believe it. I remember seeing it. I collected all of that stuff back in the day and saw an uptick in the quality of art, and I was like, Jesus Christ, Dave Sim really turned it on. And much later, in a weird magazine interview, they were interviewing Gerard and they were showing those Cerebus pages, and I was like, wait a second, this is Dave Sim stuff. But then with context, I realized, oh, he's the guy that's doing all those backgrounds. So that's freaking awesome. Eric, that ink wash page, do you use a blend brush to get that gradation? Ink wash page. Was there an ink wash page that you saw? Oh, this one. This one? Are you talking about the bottom, this bottom panel, the second panel? No, that's an actual brush. That is an ink wash brush that does that effect. One vote for the entire series to be collected as a hardcover artist edition. So here's the plan, and I hope I can do this. I hope that it's financially viable, and I don't know. And guys, I want to talk to you about something that kind of, it makes me laugh every time that I hear it. And it's because I have no idea where they're getting this concept from. But anyway, I'm hoping that by the end of the series, it is enough of a financial viability because of its success that we will be able to offer a slipcase that can house all 5 hardcovers. Does that make sense?
Ooh.
But we'll see. That's still like far away from now. We haven't even launched issue book 1 yet. Off. So anyway, the thing that I thought that would make you, that always gives me a moment of pause, and every time somebody says it, I laugh, and they kind of, and in the times that they have said it, they've said it over the phone, so they think that I'm insulting them. And I always have to explain that I'm not, right? Which is, they're like, Eric, and then they'll throw out a number for day 1, the kind of money that this thing should make out of, book 1 should make out of day 1. Like, Eric, just based on what I have an understanding of your social media presence and the people who follow you and blah, 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 you should make X. And I laugh every single time. And they're like, what? What the fuck did I say? What did I say that's so funny? And I'm like, I laugh because I have no idea how right you are, because I've never done this before. I've never done a crowdfunding campaign in which I have a point of reference of how well my book will do, right? There's plenty of people who have enough notches to be like, may not be as similar as the book as I did previous, but I know I have a built-in fan base of X. Maybe they won't go for this one. So let's take 10%, 15, 20% off of that, because it's not necessarily the thing that they know me for, but definitely, even if it's a 15% drop off, I know it'll still pay for itself, yada, yada, yada. I don't have any
There's
of that.
a benchmark.
Right. I don't have any benchmarks.
There's no frame of reference.
Yeah, what they're doing is using somebody else's audience as a benchmark. These people who have informed me, you know? And I go like, that's nice. That's flattering. That's awesome. I hope that I get that.
Very nice guess.
but there's no way to have an exact. I mean, not even. I don't even have a. I don't. There's no way for you to tell me a number that I'll get comfortable with because it's not based on something that I did. It's based on what somebody else did. You know.
That's right. Yeah, no, even like they could take a best guess with your following and all that and all those hard numbers, but you never truly, I'm not saying that they're wrong, but you never truly know what your followers will do versus John Moore's followers or my followers. You know, again, hypothetically, if we all have the same, if we're all starting at the same baseline amount of followers, you don't really know how that ever is going to pan out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. 100%. I'm with you 100%.
Now, I do believe in you, sir. I believe in your product. I believe in your hard work. So,
but that's all I can really pay attention to.
Can't wait.
Like, I'm only going to pay attention to the work in front of me. You know. Okay, I'm going to ink this now.
Yeah, dude. And based off some of the other crowdfunded projects I've seen, without naming names, your artwork stomps them in the dick, dude. It stomps their dick in the dirt.
Yeah, but I know, and I appreciate that. And I go like, does that factor into it at all? Does the
it might not actually? That's the funny thing.
Exactly, right? Like the reality might be very sobering, you know, where it's like that. Maybe that doesn't factor it into it at all. Quality of artwork, quality of, you know, every time somebody says, oh yeah, you have this many followers and you've got this kind of lineage, you've got this pedigree from working in the mainstream industry. And I'm all like, what does that mean? You know, I've still got to draw my ass off.
You're like a fucking show pony.
Yeah. I've still got to draw my freaking ass off to make sure that this thing is as good as it can be. Yeah,
you don't get to phone it in.
Yeah.
Listen, Eric, you're only as good as the last thing you drew.
Shit, man, I'm fucked. I drew a train for my kid.
Oh boy!
I drew a train.
I mean, Thomas the Tank.
I drew a train out of crayons for my kid. If that's the benchmark, I'm screwed.
That's the bar. What have you done?
Jasper Plan 9 says, I'm referring to the campaign numbers, speculating. Yeah, and I'm trying not to think about it at all. I'm trying to think of it in stages, in small, digestible, what do you call it? Actionable bites, so to speak, right? Which is finish the book.
I like that.
Put it into the hands of people who know what they're doing as soon as it leaves my hands. Not the least of which, Joe, who's doing the editing, Jules, who's doing the coloring, Eric Weathers, who's doing the lettering and the formatting, and everything else in between, right? From beginning to end, put it into capable hands of people, you know. And then just focus on bringing awareness to people that this thing is available to them, you know.
Yeah.
To say like, hey, this thing is live. I'm going to talk to as many people as I can. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about this, Mike. I mean, you guys in chat give me feedback, Mike. You as well. What do you think about me streaming an extended stream on campaign day?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah! A little like a, I don't want to say like a telethon vibe, but you know what I mean, like a.
I'm just gonna have 6 phones sitting right here in front of me, and every now and again.
6 phones, have an audience. It'll be me, and I'll just be running back and forth in a suit and tie, picking up phones, pretending like people are calling us on landlines.
What I would like to do,
Jerry Lewis telethon.
What I would like to do, though, and this may be a bit self-serving and self-aggrandizing, but like forward it to a group of people who I think will like it, and then bring them on the show and have them talk about like the stuff that could have been better, talk about the stuff that they liked, so that people can get a really nice, what I mean, like a different perspective of the book outside of myself. That might be shooting myself in the foot, though.
Your book sucks. Don't buy it.
Yeah, your book sucks. Guys, if you're listening to this stream right now, don't fucking buy it.
Don't waste your money. Eric's like, Mike, hang up on this guy.
Yeah. Then I gotta hit the hang up button, Mike. Hang up on him quick.
Donald says yes to the stream. I discourage campaigning during the holiday buying season. I didn't buy any books because I was buying everyone gifts.
Yeah. I think the best thing to do is to, first campaign launches in September, right? Take 60. You and I have yet to decide whether or not it's going to be 60 or 30, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what I feel most comfortable with. And then afterwards, fulfill, yes, and then launch the next campaign. So it may be that whenever that is, so September, 30 days thereafter, we're going to be into October, right? It's going to take about 15 days for the early adopter tier to go out to people. 15 business days, and then everything else gets fulfilled, and then launch campaign 2, and we might be encroaching on the holidays. You know what I mean?
Is that true though, or is Jasper by themselves in this? Is that like a hard and fast rule?
It's
like,
worth a conversation for sure.
No campaign during Christmas.
Yeah.
Campaigns during Christmas time don't do well. Like, if that's a rule, then by all means, yeah, let's skip that.
Yeah.
But if it's just a thing it's just a Jasper thing. Again, new to all of us. Later, Luca. And what's up, Lex and Strike Boy, and what's up, Mask is here. Hello.
I'll stream some ATHENA fan art when it kicks off. What the hell?
Somebody's excited for Eric's book.
Yeah.
A little too excited.
Somebody's a little
Somebody's looking at those
aroused.
ATHENA pages.
Somebody said,
and
hey.
they're excited. They are excited.
You can start on a big stream or yours, in a few hours go to another channel, then another channel, try to end up on a big stream at night. The first 24 hours is your big jump out the gate. That sounds exhausting, William. That sounds exhausting. And I know Rob, Replicator Rob is like, Eric, you've got to go do that. You've got to be all day promoting the heck out of this on day one and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, fuck that. That sounds so exhausting to me. It may be, and William, this may be because it's what we've seen across the board, and I know it's like critical in that 24 hours, getting people, but just like the idea of that is exhausting to me. And I honestly don't want to do it. I honestly don't want to do it.
That's a lot.
Okay, can I go back to the somebody back on that piracy tip?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, Donald DeLay says first and last days are crazy exhausting, and that's one of the main reasons why I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to freaking do it. Fucking thing be damned. It's not a hard and fast rule, but I did learn marketing class that extra spending doesn't happen during holiday months unless you're Walmart and Best Buy. There you go. Not a hard and fast rule, but might be worth keeping in mind. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Some people say that, but if it's one I'm looking for, I'm still going to get it. I just won't take as many chances on ones that pop up. And I think, and tell me, you guys, if this has any value to you at all, right? There is a reason why I'm taking advantage of the really, really long promotional runway that I have been in leading to the first campaign launch for ATHENA. Because what I'd realize is, as exhausting as that sounds, I need to come up with a mechanism that helps supplement it instead of. What I mean by that is, I know a lot of people go on like the stream tours from this guy's channel to this guy's channel to this guy's channel, because they want to get awareness up for it as much as they possibly can, considering that I don't know how much time they took to bring awareness to it in the first place before they launched, right? But in my mind, I would rather do it the other way, which is, yes, I will do my very best to do a supplemental version of what it means to launch on and bring awareness to people on launch day. Hey, it's live, it's gonna go live now, blah, blah, blah. But I would rather take the time leading into that space and tell you all about the books. As a matter of fact, we're getting little tiny featurettes made about the characters themselves, so you're not sitting there going like, hey, I wonder what these characters are all about. So probably,
Oh, nice.
end of August, you guys are going to start seeing little tiny featurettes about the characters. So there you go. I don't know what you guys think about that, but just the idea of doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. First of all, I said it already, it's exhausting. And then second of all, is it really all that effective? Or is everybody doing it just because it's what worked for one guy? And it's not to say it's automatic, it's just to say that, oh yeah, that's just what works, and I guess that's what happens. But I think it needs to be more about, where do I want to spend my energy, on 20 streams or 3 key streams? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Hang on, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Do comic artists who launch Kickstarters and Indiegogos, do they often stream them like you're doing as a standard practice?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because if you think about how it typically works, there is often, especially in the circles or inside of the orbits that I'm in regards to people who have done the crowdfunding game before, the typical game plan, what I've seen, and there's a handful of people who don't, or there were the exceptions to this rule, right? But more often than not, people go out the gate into the crowdfunding space, well, let's say 10 pages, maybe as many as 12. That's being generous. Sometimes they go in as few as 6, and that's fucking scary to me. That is like, that is heart palpitations level of scary to me, because it's like, okay, so I'm going to go out the gate. I only have X amount of pages of the book done. It's going to be X amount of pages long, and some of the stretch goals is going to be adding more pages into the book. And you're like, holy shit, you're never going to get this thing done, So
Nightmare.
they've not spent the appropriate amount of time giving people what the most recent one that I saw I dare to call him my friend. His name is Clint Stoker. Clint he has a stream called Sweetcast, and he just has a book that he just launched called Downcast, and I think he may have 8 pages done from it based on his launch. But here's the difference. Clint has an audience and a track record based on his crowdfunding campaigns that have been relatively successful. So it's smart for Clint to continue with the game plan that he's been super successful with. But it doesn't mean it should be automatically something that I adopt for myself. So instead of doing that, because I know it's going to be so taxing doing that version, and because I have so many more pages done, I would rather do the promotional stuff at the front end. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Of course it makes plenty sense.
Do you have a bigger fan? You do have a bigger fan base set up already, so that helps. But then again, you're probably streaming to the same 30 to 50 core 50 night stream. Other streams give new eyes. That's fantastic. I think it's going to be a combination of leveraging as much of my social media as possible. Moving forward, there's going to be instances where I'm actually going to start streaming on Instagram Live. There's going to be instances when I'm probably going to stream also into Facebook and all that kind of stuff. But I'll leave that for near end of July, beginning of August. It all helps. I wouldn't exclude small channels. Absolutely not. But if we're talking about, it's not a conversation about channels that are too small to go on. It's all about how much energy I have and where I'm going to appropriately put that energy. Does that make sense, Jasper? It's not about like, oh, that channel is way too small to go on because that's dismissive, and that's not I don't believe in that at all. I am very, very proud. Yeah. I'm very glad to go on to anybody's channel who's kind enough to come in and talk to me. But if I know by the time I get to, so here's again, it's the same fear that I have with Dan Fraga, right? Which is, if I go onto somebody's channel, big or small, and my energy is down because I'm so freaking exhausted, number one, I feel bad because I'm going to not represent them very well. Like, why did you bring this dum-dum onto your channel if his energy is down and he's not really, it's obvious that he's exhausted. And by the way, I get I disengage, right? Like, anyway, and I run out of energy very, very quick throughout my day because this isn't the only thing that I'm doing, Secondly, I Actually, that's the second part. The most important part is that I'm not going to represent them well, and then ultimately I'm not going to represent my project well. So I'd rather be sure that big or small channel, as a matter of fact, if it were up to me, I'd go on smaller channels first. Because that seems a bit more quaint. That's about my speed, you know? Like, I feel like it's less taxing because I don't have to perform. It's not going to be as performative, so to speak. I don't know. It's less. Maybe it's more of. It's less intimidating for me. Clint is great. Best writer in CG. Can we see the other layers on that page you're showing? I'm curious what didn't make the cut. Oh, they all are. I just wanted to draw it all on one layer because I was too lazy to continuously start a new page each and every single time. Go to page 1 comics channel with Jimmy. Jimmy's a good guy. Jimmy is a really, really good guy. He's had nothing but kind words to say to me, and he is incredibly kind. So
William says, so you're saying you don't want to become a full-time YouTuber, Eric?
Yeah. Is there such a thing as a 1/8 time YouTuber? Yes. Spike Trotman and other big crowdfunders have said finishing the book or nearly finishing the first is the way to go. I'm going to finish all 5, Brendan. All fucking 5 before launch.
Yeah, no.
Hey, Jim, how are you? Good evening. Thank you for being here. You only have so much bandwidth. Don't want to burn out through the... Yeah, that's my fear. It's just that I'm just going to be so freaking burned out, and there's going to be so many things that I still need to handle at any given time.
Yeah, no, you got to prioritize.
Yeah, it really has a lot to do with representing myself well, representing the channel who invites me well, and obviously energy expenditure. All right, what was Donald asking for? Oh, I was about to ink.
Donald's asking for something?
Yeah, he wanted to see all the other different layers. So there's the other layer. These are all going to be the trading cards and part of the featurette that's going to be on the channel. As I present these as time lapses and talk about these characters. So I'm going to be like, oh, hello, my name is Eric Canete. You're watching Redraw, and today I'm talking about blah, 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 you know. I'll talk about themes of the comic book. I'll talk about the characters themselves in part, enough just to kind of whet your appetite and have an understanding of who they are, the kinds of stuff that I'm approaching, yada, yada, yada. Here's one. Go ahead, dude.
Eric, question from the chat.
Yo.
JK wants to know, do you have a day job apart from your comic?
Yes, I do. I work as a concept artist in video games.
He does. And it's a big video game company, one of the biggest.
It's a little tiny one.
And
you've never heard of it.
And Eric has got Eric. He's not the mail boy. He's got responsibilities there.
So this one is the one I was working on stream the other day, and I abandoned this because I felt like it just wasn't working. I was working on it during stream, and I was like, why is this not blowing my skirt up? And I think it's this leg. I think this was more of a down shot previously, right? And I turned it into more of a side angle. So it's probably this more. It's probably that more. All right. If here's the grid below him, yeah, it's probably better like that. I lost track of the perspective, and so everything started to flatten out. And I wasn't very happy with it, and it just happened to be that I didn't throw away, or I didn't completely delete the previous image that I was working on with Crystal, and I just turned this layer off, turned the other one back on, and I like that more, and I'm going to ink that next. Okay, so here's Gristle. Here's the setup for Gogo, right? One of the team members for Arc Athena. Here's Old Man Strength, one of the team members for Arc Poseidon. This is Undisputed Phoenix, who's the team member for Arc Athena. This is the really super rough sketch for Hypersexual, who's a member for Arc Poseidon. And this is Red Wasp, who is team member for Arc Poseidon. Red Wasp and a bunch of his clones. Alex Everett says, Eric, this is off topic and you did a Mobius drawing from Richard Friend's stream. I've seen it in your thumbnails. If you get a chance, then I could be peep it. I don't know what I did with it. I may have thrown it away.
It's in the trash.
I may have thrown it away.
Garbage man has it. Got it. Let's see.
Okay, I'm gonna ink this now.
Let me see. Hey, you ink, and I'll read a little bit of your chat.
How are you holding up, buddy? I know you're. It's starting to get to be that time for you. Is it still early? I don't know. I don't know your schedule anymore.
I'll be up until like I'm up until about 4 a.m. 3 or 4 a.m. every day.
Holy
So
shit,
I'm good.
Boy.
Let's see. Eric, this is off topic. You read that? Hello, chat. Hot damn, what a good looking chat, says Mr. James O'Reilly.
Thank you so much for that.
Hello,
buddy.
Mr. O'Reilly.
How many hours can you spare for your comic? How many for your concept art job? I'm awake at 4:15 in the morning. Work on comics until about 8 o'clock, 8:30. Spend family time until about 9:30. Work the day job, and spend another until about 5 o'clock. Dinner time and family man until about 8. And if I'm not streaming, I have between 8 to 10 to do a little bit more comic book work. I do it again the next morning. Chauncey says, all these characters are so damn badass. Thank you so much, Chauncey.
Eric,
Yo.
I've got a question.
Yo.
When do you start crying?
What do you mean?
What hours do you start tearing up?
I'm tearing up now, man.
Because of your workload.
Phoenix has a sort of
presence.
presence, really catches the eye. Thank you so much for that. Darn the luck, thank you. Darn the luck. Oh, you mean about the Mobius thing? Gotcha. Hey, listen. I don't know if you guys are up for it, but would you guys like to see the colors that Jules has done so far for the book?
Ooh. Yum.
Yeah. Would you guys
Hey,
like
Dread
to...
Crew, thank you for the donation.
Here we go.
Dread Crew just popped into my channel and just
Hey, what's up, Dread?
dropped it.
What's news?
Dono.
If you don't have $10, you probably don't have time to watch Twitch because you work.
Hey, Cutie Pie and Eric. Thank you, Dread. Oh, Raul, Papa Charvavino.
Yeah.
He wants to know what's your sleep like. He's worried about your sleep, Eric.
My sleep. I'm asleep by 10ish,
sleep you get?
maybe 10:30. So that's about 10 to midnight, 2 hours. Midnight to 4. That's about 6 hours total.
6.
I don't sleep that much anyway. I can't remember what age I turned when I'm like, hey, I'm not sleepy anymore. Or I don't need as much sleep,
I get about
I
6
should say.
hours.
How many hours total do you get? Any given day?
Yeah, about 6.
Okay.
But you know, it's like from like 4 in the morning to 11 or later.
Yeah.
Sometimes 7.
Yeah.
Sometimes I lay down at 4 and I can't get to sleep until 5 or worse.
All right, let's see if this stuff
Oh, you
works.
know what? It'd be nice to pick your brain
Hey,
about
look at
with
that.
everybody. How many of you guys saw the Supergirl photo leak this week?
Can you guys see
Eric and
that
I had to
okay?
talk about this.
Tell me if you guys can see my screen. I'll actually end up doxing myself with anything on here. Nope. Looks pretty safe.
There it is. I see it now. Look at those pages.
I've still got to try to, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but I changed this last panel on page 1 because that was an older version of her costume and her headgear, and she doesn't have that chin strap anymore. And I pointed it out to Jules, and Jules like, okay, just get it to me as soon as you can. So I'm going to cycle through the pages really quick. We can all check it out together. He has been doing such a phenomenal job in putting together the color palettes for these pages. And I know we're opting for a hyper reality where things are ultra saturated and not at all current comic book coloring trends, you know, where everything kind of, I don't know what it is, man. I don't quite understand why there has been this switch to, and I use this term not as complimentary as I should, but I don't know why there's been this switch to a more muted / mature coloring, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why that's been the trend, you know? What is that, Mike?
Where's the fun?
Yeah, it's like everything has become, you know, these
So fucking
darker.
dour.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what
Yeah.
it is.
You know we're doing superhero comics here, right?
Yeah. Right? When did it become so freaking
listen up.
serious, you know?
Listen, then. Eric, if you don't like my comics, don't buy my if you don't like my politics, Eric, don't buy my book.
If you don't like my colors, please continue to buy my book.
You don't
I
like
need
my
your
sad
help.
colors. Oh, Brandon wants to know what's Jules' social media. I gotta see more of that coloring. Says BW.
I don't know it I don't know it by memory, but I will look for it and put it in chat later on if I remember. Look at this guy. Every time I see these pages, I don't see my art. I see Jules.
Holy shit, dude. That fucking submarine one. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yo, I have not seen that. Ooh wee. God damn, dude. I love I love that like combination. The blue and red combo.
Yeah.
But like done in a fun way.
Yeah, dude.
It's some of my favorite. Like, you know, do like make it weird, right? Give me like a teal and a fuchsia. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
Make that work.
There's a splash, but you're about 2 seconds behind me, I think, right? As far as
I'm
what's
seeing some
happening on my
underwater
stream, there's
looking
going to be a
action.
splash page that comes up, and I think you've seen it a couple times in our private chat, but look at this fucking guy. Fucking love this dude so much, man.
Well, yeah, I want to know Jules's. I want to steal Jules's color palettes.
And more importantly, I think this is where I apologize to him an awful lot. Because there are times when he is doing stuff.
Oh my god, that's what he did with this. Holy shit!
Did you see that? Is that the splash page that you looked
was
at?
that the one? Was that the splash page where like everyone
Yeah.
going at it?
Yeah,
Dude, I don't know how he figured that out, man.
yeah. Fucking bonkers,
Shit.
right?
Yeah, crazy.
And here's the thing. I remember people telling me, like, Eric, do you feel like when you stream and you show off these pages, you're kind of giving it away? And I'm like, what? The fuck? I have 5 books.
Quit giving it away, Eric.
Yeah, the point of showing
Be
you
honest,
these
dude.
pages is to fucking get you hyped for the book, you know? Hopefully it gets you so hyped that you go and tell somebody else about it. Hey, on Canete's stream, I saw those pages for ATHENA 1, and they are bonkers good, you know? I'm going to go invest in that, and I would hope that you bring somebody along with you, you know?
Yeah, no, man. Ooh wee. God damn, man. It's fucking crazy that you're gonna launch and it's already done, or just about. Damn near.
Yeah, he's going to be done with colors by, he said mid-July. And he's never been a guy to make those kinds of claims and not be able to deliver, you know?
He's not a fibber.
He's not a fibber.
He's not pulling your leg.
He's not pulling my leg at all. Jesus Christ. I honestly, when I'm looking at these colors, when I'm looking at these pages, I don't see my art. I see Jules. I see the stuff that he's doing, and I'm like, jeez Louise, you monster. Anyway.
What a guy, man. What a Jules.
Super beastly, right?
What's up, amigo Brown?
I want to find you his,
Brandon Wallace says, I just texted my friend about the colors on this stream.
Hey, thank you.
What'd you text him?
I hope good things, right? Because if you texted him going like, you should see the
Yeah.
acidic shit that's happening on this goddamn.
It was like that scene from Back to the Future where Marty's on stage.
That's a good reference, Pullman. What the hell? Why doesn't his Instagram come up?
His colors are too good. Instagram banned him.
Yeah. Because every time he posted something, he would put something COVID related on top of it. They were like, oh fuck.
Yeah, he called it the Kung Flu once, and Instagram wanted nothing to do with it. No, he definitely, before anybody gets mad, he did not do that. I'm being
He did
stupid.
0%
I'm making
of that.
stupid jokes. Yeah. In case it's not obvious. So what comic books are supposed to be... So what? Let me read this right. William says, what? So comic books are supposed to be full of kinetic energy and movement, not some static team shots or coffee time? Oh, you mean like the new Ninjak book? That looks like it's a...
What happened to the Ninjak book?
On a new Ninjak book looks like it's a less fun 2D side scroller from the panels. From the pages and panels that I saw.
Oh, here it is.
That
Okay.
seems to be the...
I don't know why people freak out about comic books that don't suit their tastes. You know what I mean? Because my opinion about it is, and this may be just me, if it sucks, people know that it sucks. Right? And ultimately,
Yes.
the market's going to work that shit out, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, somebody try this. I think it's this. Oh, there it is. Bell's got it. There it is.
Ooh, look at that bell. Quick. Click on the draw Bellatrix.
Click on the Bellatrix. Good evening, Dominic Powell. What are you saying? What are your favorite memories from working in Wildstorm Studios? I think it was... He didn't have to do this because his office was pretty freaking awesome, but it was on the other side of the other side of the building. But Jim Lee actively, I say Jim like we're like super close friends, but Jim Lee actively sought to be in the artist pit along with all of us because I think he liked the energy there. He liked the camaraderie, and he always liked feeling like he's one of the guys. So that was one of my fondest memories.
Like that.
I
That's
don't
fucking
know of any of the artists in that place that was so... Like, everybody was so supportive, right? I sat more towards the... Like, it was a double room sort of thing, right? In one room sat Lee Bermejo, Jim Lee, Carlos de Anda. And on the other side of the wall, it was Ale Garza, Dustin Wynn, me, Sandra Hope, Trevor Scott, and Richard Friend. That was the artist pit that I was part of. And all of those guys were so very encouraging. They were just amazing people, artists that just hung out and we just talked about... I don't remember if we ever talked hardcore about art. But when it did turn into hardcore art conversations, the conversation was fast and furious, man. More often than not, we were just talking about our day, talking about weekends, talking about family, things like that, lunches, hanging out, things that we may do after hours, that kind of a thing. But for the most part, everybody was head down, trying to make their deadlines.
Eric, Ever
Yep.
tell you I wish I could have been in the back seat of that car that you and Dustin used to drive to work way
On the
back when?
drive.
The drive, man, the notorious drive to the studio.
Yeah. No, that was a lot of fun, man. God bless Justin for freaking dealing with me.
Hey, when you see Dustin win, do you give him a hug? I know you're not much of a hugger.
I'm not much of a hugger, dude. I do give him the
No.
what's up, how you doing, you know?
You give him a firm handshake.
Yeah, I give him a determined nod in his direction, you know.
You give him a finger guns.
I don't finger guns either, but I get what you're saying.
Well, Ninjak looks like it was done on an Etch-a-Sketch. You're not wrong, Jasper. You're not wrong. Taste is subjective, but I think some of the flack that comics like Ninjak get is because it lacks energy. It's very stiff. And Crimson Chris, thank you for the follow. It's so stiff. It seems like it's just not fun.
Are the pages
to harken?
Are the
Yeah.
pages that's been out, right, representative of the book as a whole?
That's a
think?
good question. You know, I just skimmed through a few preview pages, and that's what I saw.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway. Now, I
Okay.
could be mistaken, because, I did not read it in the whole, so I could be
but
off.
I mean, like, dude, you get
style
like
of it.
after after X amount of pages of looking at somebody's work, if it's no good, then it's no good, right? But I did hear a few people push back and proclaim the guy to be like some kind of genius, you know? And that's why I can't fucking stand that term. It's just lost all goddamn meaning, you know?
Genius.
Yeah, people just keep throwing that shit
Yeah.
around, you know?
I mean, it's different. I don't know if genius is the right term. It might be his art might be better suited to, I don't know, man. Me and my teen friends go to the coffee shop, the book,
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah,
Ninjak.
yeah. Right.
It seems like, yeah, he seems like, again, a slice of lifestyle artist is doing a action-packed, adventure comic.
But this is in his first superhero book, though,
spy thriller. Yeah.
right? Apparently he did Hulk too, yeah? Or She-Hulk?
I don't know. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, apparently they did She-Hulk too, and I didn't bother looking. There was only one artist in She-Hulk that I really super liked, and I was afraid it was going to be this fellow whose Ninjak stuff I saw. I was like, I don't think that's the same guy, but who knows? It was years ago that I saw this She-Hulk book that I'm talking about. And for the life of me, I can't remember the fellow's name. But I think it was the She-Hulk book. If this allows you to register it more, I think the She-Hulk books that Adi Granov did the covers to. Is it Bobillo? I can't remember. I kind of want to look it up, but I also want to keep drawing. So I'm just going to keep drawing.
Yeah.
Because I need to get this promo material out the door.
Have any artists approached you in regards to variant covers or anything of that sort?
Are you asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had
That's a good
to do as gracefully as I could turn them down. I tried to do it once because I took advice from dear good friend Jimmy Palmiotti, right? Jimmy said, "Hey Eric, as you're doing these crowdfunding campaigns, if you can somehow find a way to do covers for other books, because this is how Jimmy put it, and he was being very kind. He's like, everybody who knows your work at these conventions know you're like the artist, right? But unfortunately, you need to go and diversify the awareness for your body of work." Those are my words, not his. But you need to make people aware that you are doing comic books again. And These guys who know you from your convention appearances, who get these commissions from you, they don't necessarily know that you do comic books. So the thing that you need to do is bring the public eye back onto your work and make them aware that you are starting to do comics again. And if you can somehow find a way to get cover work, right, then it would go a long way to reintroducing your name back into the pool of people, into the comic book buying pool, right? I was like, that makes a lot of sense, right? That tracks, you know? I haven't done comics in a while. Not the last time that I did was for Millar, and that really didn't, I didn't stick around long enough to really see if I can get that momentum train going. So, yeah, okay, I'll try it out, right? So I did a cover for, I did a cover for G.I. Joe, and I did another cover for, and I can't remember what it was for. But for sure I did one for Scott Snyder and his Noctura book, right? For, I think it was for Jetpack Comics, like their store exclusive version. Anyway, it was so taxing because it took me away from, not because of the subject matter. The subject matter was a ton of fun. Me rendering Serpentor was a ton of fun. Me rendering, that cover for Scott was, that was a hoot, right? I love being able to help out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it took me away from doing these pages, right?
Yes.
And
yes,
I would rather not do that. I would rather look at, I understand where Jimmy is coming from, but if it's a matter of doing a cover for somebody else and only getting paid X amount of money for, just so my name can get out there again, I look at that and I go I think I can do that on my own, independent of anything else that those guys can do for me. There's got to be, and again, there's going to be exceptions to that, right? Like if Guillermo del Toro ever goes hey, Eric, I'm going to do a comic book, yada, yada, yada. You want to do a cover? I'm like, fuck yeah, man. That's going to get the kind of coverage, beyond just most comic book avenues, most comic book, news sites, right? But unless it's something like that, it doesn't make much sense for me to do anything for these companies in lieu of doing my own pages. It's not because I'm too, I'm beyond them. Obviously, I'm happy to help. I'm very lucky that these guys still think that my work is viable enough to put on their covers. It's not that. It's the time and effort that I put into that, I'd rather go and finish this book, right?
Yeah, no, of course. The book comes first.
Jasper Plan 9 says those preview pages should not unsell the book. I see what you're saying. Are you talking about Ninjak? No.
Yeah, he is. And it seemed like people were interested and then less interested after those preview pages.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, Eric, could you imagine you're showcasing your work now? And as you're showcasing your preview pages for Arc Athena, people are just like, ugh, never mind. You see,
right? I was so hyped for it. I was so hyped for it based on the X amount of images that you had shown on your social media, but now that I've seen more of it, thank you very much. I'll talk to you later.
Let's see. Eric, what are your thoughts on erotic not safe for work art?
I love it. I'm a huge fan of it. I think if I could make a living out of doing it, actually I'd get bored pretty quickly, but I have my fair share of that stuff. I love doing it. Sounds like a lot of fun. Trevor Scott is an underrated artist in my opinion. I haven't heard anything about him since and his work since once. I mean, that's a good point. I wonder if he's still Googleable. John Boy Myers. What about John Boy Myers? Good dude. Awesome dude. I did a Noctera cover. That's right. Through the good graces of one Scott Snyder. I reached out to Scott and I said, hey man, if you ever have time for me, I'd love to be able to do a cover for you. And it just happened to be right around a month away from the launch of Noctera 1. And I was lucky enough to get in on that. So that was really, really cool. Looking at the art, I like it, but yeah, not suited for Ninjak. Maybe something more cerebral. Mr. Miracle, Vertical Magic Book. That to me, and who was I talking to about this? I think it was on Saturday on that Wes and Thinking Critical stream. Who are the standard bearers for the IPs of these companies? Do you know what I mean? Like, In my
Yeah.
perspective, and this is completely biased because I come from a very specific era of comics. I do not want to look at Captain America and go like, "Oh, look at that awesome guy in cosplay." Right? The idealized superhero to me is aspirational, and they represent what the better version of any human that can quite possibly exist. And the reason why their stories are so compelling is because they are just as human, but in as far as their appearances are concerned, they need to feel and look aspirational. I don't want a dude in cosplay. So when I think about, for instance, if I'm not meaning to pick on the artist who did Ninjak, right? But he didn't walk into the Valiant offices and it was like, I'm gonna do a Ninjak book. Right? Somebody offered him that book.
Not. Yes.
Right? So to me, somebody in that office said, okay, I am a good representative and fair understanding of our IP. I know what this book is about, and this is a good guy that fits it. And so if there's such a backlash over it, is it because the person that hired them doesn't know what the fuck they're doing? I don't point at that artist and go like, bro, you suck and you shouldn't be on Ninjak. He didn't walk into Valiant and, freaking Uzi in his hand going like, okay, somebody better give me a Ninjak gig or else, Somebody reached out to him.
Else.
Somebody thought, hey, I'm looking at Ninjak. I know what Ninjak is about. And yeah, this is a good fit. How did you describe it? Saturday mornings with, I can't remember how you describe it, Mike. Like coffee time, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, coffee time with my teen friends.
Right, like that look, and it's like similar to any time I see superhero comics being drawn as if they're they're guys from the local comic book convention. You're like, nope, I do not believe in that whatsoever. And that's clearly, and again, I don't ever pick on the artists. I don't ever pick on the writers because they didn't go into that space demanding those opportunities, demanding those writing gigs, demanding those drawing gigs. Somebody brought them on from the leadership position and said, good, you'll be able to represent our IP well. And like, you must be fucking high.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I really don't know what the thought process was. Because the other thing is, like, this book seemed to be touted, the Ninjak book seemed to be touted as the next, like, this is, like you said, people were calling that artist a genius.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, this is, hey, this is, it seemed like people were thinking this book is going to put us back on the map, as an industry. That's what some of listen, on Twitter vibes are insane. Sometimes you go to Twitter and it's like, you feel like you're in a loony bin. It feels like somebody just opened up the keys to the sanatorium. But yeah, there was definitely a demo on there that seemed to be championing this book as, this is what comic books has to offer. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, well, if that's the case, it makes sense why the industry is dying.
I don't, and this is not me being PC, but I have to shrug at that kind of shit. Only because at the end of the day, the thing that'll proof it out, whether or not, is how many issues it moves. Eventually, the fantasy that these people are upholding is going to be hit dead in the face by the reality of finances. The fantastical notion of like potential potential genius, potential like revolutionary art, inclusionary works that allow it to be blah, 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 that's gonna get hit directly in the face with the financial reality of like, fuck, this thing isn't sustainable, so we gotta close the doors. So good luck to you. I don't give that any more thought than necessary because that'll eventually proof itself out anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. Sometimes I just can't wrap my head around it. Says Twitter is the Arkham of the internet.
I often refer to how you told it to me months and months ago, Mike, if not years ago, you're like, so and so, whatever so and so eats doesn't make me shit.
Yes, true.
Right? I don't get offended by art that I don't think works on a book. I don't get it. I don't like, my blood pressure doesn't raise because I go like, oh my God, that guy sucks. And people are saying that he's genius and yada, yada. I'm like, I'm just going to be over here. I'm going to work on the shit that makes me, that I believe is worth, like, you know, if this goes back to what I was talking about, like 20 minutes ago, I only have so much energy in my goddamn day. I'm not going to spend it thinking about whether or not the guy on Ninjak sucks, you know?
Yeah.
I leave that to more capable hands, you know?
But we'll think a little bit about it, but I'm not gonna. I will say this: if I was truly working for the big two, or if I was more in the mix, I think I might be a little bit more bummed.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, man, you're really watching the industry burn. You know.
Oh, by the way, that is not a commentary of guys who are actually who are getting worked up over the ninja artists. You know why? Or the Ninjak artists. You know why? Because I genuinely believe they care about the industry that they're in love with, you know?
Yes.
The fan base really wants to see amazing books. They're not just out there to shit on people, because when something is good, they celebrate it, right? And the perfect example of that is Daniel Warren Johnson, you know? Like, when his Better Ray Bill book came out, nobody was like, oh, that's a garbage book and I can't believe you guys are putting blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, they really freaking loved it. You know, maybe there's a handful of people that weren't into it, but good is good, you know? And that, to me, perfectly captures the spirit of the people who are really passionate about telling you, hey, this doesn't feel good. You know, this doesn't look good. This doesn't represent this character well.
Yeah.
So again, that's not me, like, you know, pooping on the guys who are saying, like, you know, who are really vocal, really publicly vocal about their passion for Ninjak. I think it comes from a good place. They want to support you, you know?
Yeah, no, people have got money that they are willing to spend on something, on a good product.
Yes. They want to support products that excites them. And when you get a piece of feedback that says, hey, that's not very exciting. And the thing is, it's easy to go like, well, you know, all the Twitter, you know, all the fans on Twitter just want to shit on something. That's so cynical because it's not true.
It's not true.
It is not true. When you put out a bad product, that's when they say, hey, that doesn't feel very good. You know how many people are excited for Daredevil? Like they look through it and they're like, man, that Elektra as Daredevil looks freaking awesome, you know? They're into it. They want to give you their money. It's when the leadership makes poor decisions, but rather than saying, hey, yo, our bad, and then, you know, do whatever they can to go on go into recovery mode, right? Instead, they go like, F you guys are incredibly toxic. And I don't understand that. I don't understand it. You are getting free market research, you know, on what will work for your books. And yes, it's been, you know, people have said like, well, you just want more of the same, and it's never like, no shit, they want more of the same because the more of the same is really good. And it's not to say this isn't really good, it just doesn't fit your brand. It doesn't fit your IP. Mobius is amazing. And I'm underrepresenting him with that word, right? That is true genius to me, right? But at no point did they let Mobius draw too many Marvel books. You know why?
Right.
Because it didn't fit.
Doesn't fit.
He drew the one Silver Surfer thing, and everybody will talk that up like you wouldn't believe. But for the most part, they understood their brand and said, he's probably a good sort of, you know, a small little story here and there, you know?
Yeah, just a little taste to mix it up.
but they understood their
But
brand.
you know, yeah, you know, you don't put them on every X book.
Anyway, speaking of X book, you see this most recent planet-size X-Men that Pepe Larraz did?
No, I didn't. Pepe Larraz is a fucking animal.
Jeez
Him and Jorge Jimenez, man, those are two, you know, for their respective companies, two powerhouses.
I agree. Holy crap, man. The only thing I asked during the show on Saturday on Thinking Critical was, there are so many outlandish concepts. There are so many outlandish concepts in this X-Men book, right? In Planet Size X-Men. I asked, first of all, does the writer know how to stick the landing, right? Do they have the history of like being able to come up with such insane concepts like Inception, you know, and be like, have they ever stuck that landing of something that big? And unanimously and almost cynically to each person in that room, they were like, nope. I'm like, that sucks. That sucks because there was so many fucking cool things happening in that comic book. Now here's the other thing. Do you care about spoilers at all about this thing? You want to read it for yourself?
About spoilers, please.
Okay, so here's the thing, right?
Spoil away.
First, what happened, and I think I'm getting bits and pieces because I've not collected a straight-on through X-Men run in for what feels like forever, right? But
yeah,
oh gosh, so the X-Men got an island, right? I think it's called Krakoa.
Right.
Krakoa.
Yeah, Krakoa.
Which is a nice little head nod
yes.
to like back in the day because that island existed way back in X-Men lore, right? So like,
yes,
they get an island, and somehow, I didn't want to believe what people were saying, but the X-Men are infallible right now. They're as close to being arrogant sons of bitches. I'm reading.
Yes.
I'm reading as much as I can about them. Trying not to. I'm trying to be contrary to the hype. To be like, maybe people are just trying to read too much between the lines about who these guys. You know how they're being represented in dialogue and in their actions or whatever. But you're like, nope. These guys are bad guys. Somewhere in there is the X-Men, but these guys are not they, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one. They become infallible. They become perfect. They become jerks. You know,
Immortal, essentially too.
It's effectively right.
Yeah,
and
they
so
can die or they can.
Right, and that's the other thing. I was just about to mention that, which is now they gave them a recover. You know, a free card, a free pass to never be able to die. And I don't know why nobody said that is a bad idea.
Yeah, no, that's guess who removed all consequence.
There is no story.
Their actions.
Exactly. There's nothing about this story that's going to hit as heavily as it should, because, you know, none of this matters, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's the same complaint that people had about the what is it? The time department TVA, time variant.
Yeah. The Time Variance Authority. Sure.
Right, Time Variance Authority. Because what they introduce into the lore, if it holds up, is that everything has been predetermined already. So there's, you know, similarly, there's no consequence, right?
Right. Well, everything's happened already. So whoever dies, and whoever doesn't. But yes, they could always grab somebody from the multiverse. Right. And again,
that has yet to be confirmed 100%. They just introduced the concept in this show, and who knows whether or not it's actually true, right? There's X amount more episodes for us to find out. Okay, so they give them a planet, they give them they give them an island, and then they say they can never die. And you're like, how is this fun?
Yeah, you're like, what do you do with this now?
Yeah, what do you do, right? So that's what they did with Planet Size X-Men. They answered, what do you do with this now? Which is, they gave them a planet instead.
A mutant planet?
Yes, they terraformed Mars in like a few hours.
Okay.
Yeah, that pause is exactly the pause that I had after I read the book. which is, and you know, that's why I asked, has this writer ever been able to stick a landing that will help pay this thing off?
Was that a Hickman book?
No, I think it was a Jerry Duggan book, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't look. And when people who have read his work historically say, like, he probably won't be able to stick that landing, it's like, then you just did the and then, you know? And then what? Oh, then they had an island, and then they can't die, and then they have a planet, and then they... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way you're going to be able to pay that shit off. It's obvious that you couldn't pay off the version with the island. Now now you gave them a planet? That's my cynicism talking, forgive me. I should engage the same muscle that allowed me to say, you know, hey, let's wait until Loki is over to see whether or not they're going to be able to pay that thing off, whether or not it's true.
Yeah, but it's been how, you know, it's been over a year now, right?
I don't know.
Since we got House of X and Powers of X, Sword, you know, X of Swords, all that stuff.
Well, X of Swords is a mess. I actually tried to read that thing,
like,
and I was like, I'm done. I'm 3 issues in, and I'm done.
You know, yeah, but they introduced Plant X-Men to us a while. You know, it's been some time now.
Sure.
Since we've had them.
Sure.
So it's like, what are you doing? I feel like at this point you've given the, you know, as a reader and as somebody myself who's read Powers of X and House of X, you've had your time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Where is this leading? Where is this going? And then if it's going to X planet.
Yeah, they have a planet. So spoilers. They got a fucking planet.
Yeah, my spoiler is no thank you.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. I'm not buying this book. I'm not going to steal it either. I'm not going to buy it.
Allegedly.
Allegedly steal. Allegedly buy.
What does Joe Chodo do now? I used to love his paintings in the Wildstorm days. I don't know, man. I hope something lucrative. I hope something successful. That would be so awesome if he was in that space now. JK says, Eric, you are so well-spoken and articulate. Have you considered making a comic course or a concept art course? Yes, but later. It's very taxing to come up with that curriculum, to do it well and to do it comprehensively. But the answer is yes. I would love to be able to do that. If you can describe your new miniseries, ATHENA, in one word, what would it be? 2 words, middle finger. Jorge Jimenez for Batman, Daniel Warren Johnson and Beta Ray Bill are both great fits in my opinion for a good current example. Yeah, fans love that stuff, man. And that's not more of the same. That's an upgrade. You know, they should continue to do that. Identify Batman, who's a good fit on Batman, put them on Batman. Somebody told me this. Was it you, Mike, that was like, they're now incredibly paranoid about giving artists sort of that bump if this was wrestling, like that you know, to put them over, so to speak, because of what happened to them X amount of generations ago in regards to the Image founders. And I'm like, that is so fucking lame. Stop it, you know?
That is really lame.
If that's true.
That's not the case.
If that's true.
If that's true, that's dumb.
Yeah.
That's really dumb because it's a way to make it so you don't sell goddamn books.
Yeah,
which,
for sure.
If that is the case, it's working.
For sure.
But no, I think Jimenez for DC and either Laraz or Daniel Warren Johnson, you know, pick your top couple. You know, pick your top couple guys on over DC. And those two should be the standard bearers that are at the forefront, but all other artists should be able to keep pace, not necessarily surpass, not necessarily run alongside, but, you know, if they're at the front of the pack, should be able to keep up somewhat.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, how do you not see that as an editor?
I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know either, dude.
Man. It's like you're making a football team and you're like, all right, you know what? Let's get the guy with the gimpy leg on here. We've got our star quarterback. We just got the one.
Right. Hey, listen, we know this guy, you know, based on the responses we've been getting about him, he's going to be a phenomenal football player and probably a franchise athlete for us. But we're not going to continue that. F that noise.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually don't hate the art. Tunes, are you talking about the art for Ninjak? That's interesting. Eric, if you could be an Arc Athena character, which one you'd be and why? I wouldn't be anybody on Arc Athena, I don't think. The one that I really gravitate to is a character on Arc Poseidon called Red Wasp. And it's because the dude doesn't talk much. And he can multiply himself into... he can multiply himself into different versions of himself, right? And there's plenty of times that I'm like, God, I just wish I had 2 more people drawing this book so I can go freaking faster. And that, I think that's the point, Tunes. It might not fit Ninjak. And I looked at it and I was like, there's nothing inherently bad. The reason I think why people were reacting to it so allergically is because they put it on a Ninjak book. But to be fair, I haven't picked up a Ninjak book in like freaking forever. So I don't know if themes and styles and expectations of that book has changed. Who knows? I have a feeling that the execs push this odd, out-of-the-box artist and writers in order to appeal to the fine arts community. At the end of the day, they feel to keep their core readers around, and I think that's the part that's really troubling to me. You know, it's a lot hard. I understand the jab step into trying to find a new audience for your product. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you think that there is a underserved contingent out there that you believe your product can sort of scoop up and take advantage of, right? I'm a huge proponent of that. Go figure out the audience that you believe that this thing will capture. But if you have enough data that keeps coming back to you going like, we tried that for 9 months, you know, and in the meantime, we are actually alienating a lot of our core fan base. And more importantly, the stories that are getting fans. And more importantly, the stories that are getting out into the media is that we're doing a shitty job, right? And in order to protect our decision making, is that we've got to go onto the offensive and call everybody awful names. That's bad conduct, man. That's not how you run a company, you know. That's how you run a clubhouse.
It's poor.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, where's the no man. I don't get it. But you know, to your point, it's good business to try to diversify, to try to bring more people into the tent.
Sure.
But you don't do that by completely getting rid of the people who already are in the tent.
Right. No, that's the part where I'm like, well, nothing compels those guys who are anti-Ninjak, that art, anti that person's art, to have to compel to buy it, right? And I think that's the only time I'm like, everybody just needs to calm down, because eventually, this stuff will prove itself out anyway.
Yeah.
Right? But to be fair, those guys who are screaming, who are super angry, they're not. I would hope. And I think I'm right in this. I would hope that they're not doing it just because they want to shit on it. It's because they genuinely do care, you know? And right. They can't make the association of like, wait, I think we had an understanding of this book, but now you put this person on it, it doesn't quite fit, you know? Just checked out the Ninjak stuff, not my favorite draftsmanship, but there's definitely some neat design. Right on. We buy overpriced comics that takes at least 6 months to receive. We love good books. DM books are more accessible, but the content isn't worth the money. What are DM books? Like, Jasper, what's DM books? Direct market? Direct market. Dan Mora books? Dan Mora over Papelarized. Get out of here. Get out of here.
A Vitamins.
Dan Mora is really good too. All jokes aside, that dude is really, really good too. I think he's... does he not work on a creator-owned book as well?
Does he?
Yeah, I think it's like a... shoot, well, I think it's called Once in Future. I have the first 5 issues of it. Is that Dan Moore? Is that right? Prater, how are you? I know I'm late. You're just in time, friend. Mobius is a master artist. He'll continue to inspire artists after death. Through his works, they appear to be larger than life. I agree, 100%. Duggan's big book was Deadpool before X-Men. Not a very solid ending, but good if you like Deadpool. Okay. Eric, do you use Procreate for your concept art as well? Once in a great while, but I think it's just the nature of it. I have a tendency to use Photoshop more. But yeah, I can use Procreate. I'm going to defend the decisions of the X-Men of late because death was already being undone anyways. I think taking away death as a cheap way of increasing stakes is actually a very challenging and bold. I see your perspective on that, right? But at the very least, death was being utilized as a mechanism to sort of boost sales. And yeah, we all knew everybody was going to come back eventually, but at least they didn't take it off the table for everyone, you know? So now you're just like,
Right.
whatever. Anyone is these
And
dumb
even
dumbs
then-
can die.
Even if somebody did die back in the day, or by back in the day, some time ago, it was no easy feat to bring them back.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
You definitely had to jump through some hoops, do some rigmarole, maybe go to hell and get them, maybe find a multiverse version of, it wasn't just, hey, let's just regrow them. What do you say?
Right. But I understand. I understand where Tunes is coming from. Right. But
It's a
I don't
challenge for sure.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with it. I understand where they're coming from. Brendan says, I initially thought that the X-Men's resurrection was good due to the comics characters never staying dead, but now it just reestablished why I hate the tropes surrounding death in comics. There you go. I think that sort of counters what Toon said earlier. All right. William C says, can I take a second to bemoan the horrible graphics / iconography / trade dress of current Marvel books? Are you talking about like their logos? That logo with the giant circle of an X seems so unwieldy. Have you seen the most recent logo, Mike?
I have not.
It's just
No.
a circle
Is it
with like
death?
the X as a negative space or a positive space, depending on how you look at it, right? But it's a circle. So it's really difficult to place if you're thinking about traditionally where you typically place like the team logo or the book logo, it's really difficult to place right in
Yeah.
the middle because it occupies an awkward, at any given time, 1/3 of the book, but a dead space to the left and right of it because it's a circle. It's not like a banner. It definitely takes a little getting used to, and I don't know if it's good or bad. I just know that I'm not used to it. The X-Men becoming separatists goes against everything they have been fighting for, coexistence between humans and mutants. The Time Variant Authority would have taken notice of Moira McTaggart. They actually got the planet because in X of Swords, they ended up basically having an entire island of other mutants from another dimension shop. I know that. I read that story, right? They needed somewhere to put the millions of other mutants, so they did the planet size. I understand. I totally freaking understand how they got there. But I still think it's lame. Sorry. Isadrovich is insane. Yep. He's doing Eternals. Yeah, people pooped on that on those Eternals pages. I like them. I like them a lot. I'm a huge fan of his. I mean, I've been digging Isadrovich too.
Yeah. Those are those preview pages that were like kind of like a motion graphic, right?
Yeah. I think so. And people were like, what the heck is this? I'm like, it looked pretty cool to me, man. Eric, I recently got a portfolio review and I was told I had a good art style, but the style was unmarketable. What is a good way to study practice of being remarkable and unique? That is a great question because that's exactly the same exact feedback that I got back in the day from every portfolio review that I got. There's two ways that you can go about it. One is to say F you and do the thing that you want to do, which is what I did, but it was a slow uphill climb to get any sort of respect, and most importantly, any sort of mainstream gig. It was awful. I could have just switched gears because, to my point an hour ago, understand the IP that you're trying to draw for, right? There was no way I should be allowed to draw Superman in an Aeon Flux style because the expectancy of that book is this dude from freaking Kansas. You know what I mean? He's a middle of America, icon. He should not look like some weirdo alien from Peter Chung's brain, So
Right.
if that's the
That'd be a
job
cool
that
book, though,
you
by the way.
want, sorry, go ahead.
That'd be a cool book. I'd probably pick that book up.
Yeah, I know.
Weirdo Superman.
You and like 3 other people.
Yeah, no,
But
not a
if
mainstream Superman.
don't do
Yeah.
main. Yeah, if you understand what you're trying to get, the goal is to draw the X-Men book. The goal is to draw whatever book. Try to cater your style. That's what you're talking about as far as marketability, right? That's the only way I believe you can make any headway. And it's not to say change it so completely that there's no longer any semblance of you, which is basically saying copy, like I remember bringing up Pepe Larraz to the that Saturday comics aficionados group on Thinking Critical by Wes, like, and they said, yeah, I like somebody in the panel was like, yeah, I like Pepe Larraz. I liked him more when he was called Stuart Immonen. I was like, oh yeah, that's true. That's not inaccurate. However, it is to say that Stuart Immonen isn't drawing X-Men books anymore, but Pepe Larraz is, right? So
Yes.
all due credit to Stuart Immonen, but if Pepe Larraz can scratch that itch, and more importantly, it fits the IP, it fits the book, it fits the themes that the book is trying, the stories that the book is trying to tell, then why not do that style, right? Especially if you can do it well, right? So similar to you,
Yeah.
I don't know what your body of work looks like, but if you're going to go into a mainstream space, it may be ideal to look at people in the mainstream that you like and go, I like this piece, I like this piece, and I like this piece, or multiple artists, and go like, how do I then mold all those puzzle pieces together so that it's independent of any one style, and the call out of like Pepe Larraz to Stuart Immonen, if you still want to come up with something unique. Marketable to me just reads mainstream. Hey Rob, how are you, dude?
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yes.
What do you think, Mike? Love British, sometimes his faces are way too much as a pheno. Sure, I can see that.
Yeah. What the hell do I know about it, man? I've never worked in the mainstream comic book industry. I don't even know how my style stacks up. My style is weird, man.
Yeah. I tried reading the New Eternals, but couldn't force myself through number 1 because of the story. I just don't care about those characters enough. The art was nice, though. Right on. Once in Future, it's fantastic. Yep, I knew it was from that. I remember messaging him via Instagram, saying like, dude, what the heck? This book is freaking amazing, Giving him as much love and props as possible. I'm happy to be here. How are you guys doing? We're doing okay. I'm going to be winding down in about 10 minutes, though. Yes, Dan Mora works with Kieran Gillen on Once in Future. Really, really cool book. Really cool premise. I think I'd put Mora over Pepe Le too. I wasn't sure if I get it when it comes to, you guys are crazy. But hey, I don't think you can choose poorly between those two. I think they're great, and if there's any way that you can get them on franchise books and they're willing to do it, and if not, back as much money trucks into their garages as possible to get them onto your books, because I do believe they will represent your IP and your stories well. Who are your major influences and artists, and what got you into writing? What got me into writing? Who are my main influences and artists? It's probably... In recent times, it's going to be somebody like Bruce Timm. And it's definitely like Peter Chung, as far as my mentor is concerned. And I think one that doesn't show up as well as it should, because I've stolen so much from her, is Claire Wendling.
Ooh.
I've stolen a ton from that lady. As far as writing is concerned, what got me into writing is because... This is a funny story. This was every time that I would talk shit about any movie that I just recently watched or any comic book that I just recently read, and I would say, man, they missed this opportunity to do X, Y, and Z, and I got really tired of hearing myself say it. Just like, okay, I can keep talking all this crap, but instead I'll just go do something about it. And that's what got me into writing. And it made me nervous to do it, right? And I think that's a pretty good metric for me. 9 times out of 10, that's a pretty good metric for me that I'm doing something right when I do something that's out of my comfort zone. Because I want to get better at my craft, or I want to get better at that craft in specific. Let's see. I'm falling asleep over here on the East Coast. Good night, peeps. Good night, William.
Oh, rude.
Good night, good night. Eric, do you think working on your comic in the morning is better as opposed to working after hours? The answer is yes. My energy is better that time of day. As someone trying to get my art noticed, social media is super fickle, and I'm beginning to realize how time consuming it must be to do a monthly. Yep, 100%. More than just time consuming. That all makes sense, tons of sense. Thank you. I hope to meet you at a con someday and get a portfolio review. Thank you so much for asking. Thank you so much for being here. Humberto Ramos and Duncan Rouleau did Superman. Don't know how it sold. I liked it. Right on. I know that, what do you call it? Humberto had to switch his style just a tiny bit back when he was working on Spider-Man. And he understood. He was like, people reacted very poorly to when I first came onto Spider-Man because the IP had set itself up. Spider-Man in that phase, in that sort of era, had set itself up to look one way, and Humberto was so different. So we started switching it and molding it a little bit more so it can be a tiny bit more palatable to the readers, but not necessarily lose himself completely stylistically. I can see Claire in your wisping line work. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. If I was an artist, I would get feedback from actual, real good artists. I wouldn't trust an editor in the mainstream to know what they were talking about. I actually said that one time online, Mike. I don't know if I told you this. I said, no. I don't understand how an editor who does not have an art pedigree in their name, in their training, can turn around and give me feedback on my covers.
Oh, dude, that's so fucking funny, man.
Right?
We had this conversation last week or the week before, where you asked me who I showed my portfolio to, and all I gave you was a list of artists who I appreciate.
Yeah.
You're like, why didn't you send it to an editor? I'm like, I didn't give a shit.
Right.
I mean, like, which is dumb.
Right.
Which is, if you want to get a job in comics. But I was more like, the artist who I admire, who I aspire to be as good as. Tell me what you think, man.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure, 100%. And I believe in that from a, what do you call it, sense? From a craft growth sense, that makes a lot of sense to me, right? Like, go talk to the artist whom you admire, get honest, direct, actionable feedback from them, and then go apply it the next time around, right? I'm talking about once you're actually working for a company, let's say, and you're turning in, like, editors are asking for like 3 or 4 thumbnails or whatever it is, and they pick one, and you go like, okay, great, I'll go do that. But I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, why? Why did you choose that?
What the fuck? Are we having conversations about composition? Are we having conversations about lighting? Are we having conversations about blah, blah, blah? No, we're just having a conversation about, just because I like it. And you're like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Cool. If it's going to be subjective, I mean, you are ultimately my customer. You are ultimately the guy that's paying me money to go do this thing. But I kind of wince at the idea that we're doing it just based on what you like, and you have absolutely no art background for me to be able to talk about. Dude. Do you
remember when Sean Murphy said that, dude?
Yeah, he said it about.
He
said it about writers, right? Have at least training in writing and blah blah blah. And he got so much shit. First of all, I feel bad for Sean because he's not inaccurate. I think he's absolutely right. If you're going to talk to me about story structure, you better have experience talking about it, right? Not like a passing, you heard it on a supplemental DVD once, Like, you actually better have practical experience doing it, right? Having either written a story yourself or whatever it is. Like, jeez Louise. I don't know why it was so offensive, and it probably did more to highlight how genuinely accurate Sean was in that concept, right? Because only the people who are guilty would ever make that much of a stink. If you did fit that category, you'd be like, yeah, like, yeah, sure, that makes sense. I've written, I've been a screenwriter, I've been a script doctor, I've had a ton of writing under my belt, But instead, people are like, well, I've never had script writing, I've never had experience, and blah blah blah. And like, yeah, well, where are you now? Where are you now, fucker?
Yeah.
I remember when I brought that up, the first person that replied to me, and to his credit, I do have a level of respect for the guy, was Andy Curry, right? I know that guy gets a lot of crap, right? But in the time that we've worked with each other, he's never been anything less than professional. And more importantly, in regards to art notes, he always puts things in front of Mark Chiarello. And to me, Mark could go like, Eric, this is cool and everything, but I need everything to look like flowers. I'm like, you're absolutely fucking right, Mark, Like it's Mark Chiarello.
Yeah.
That's a real art director, you know, who actually
Yes,
know
yes.
and who has the pedigree and sort of the projects, the awards, and the accolades that, to again, this is me. It's clear that people trust that guy's art call, right? And because Andy was
Yeah.
not as experienced as he could be in that space, he deferred to Mark and gave me notes in that proxy space. So respect to him, you know? He never got defensive.
Nice.
Unfortunately, editors are the ones who hire you and know what sells for their publisher. I'd argue not always.
Yeah, not nowadays.
Not always. What I have observed
Maybe
over the
back in the
years
day.
with some up-and-coming or aspiring artists and writers don't consider taking any business classes or learn a trade, all of which will help them in the long run. The business part, probably. I know I could still use a lot of that, for sure. I think the non-art background editors are the same ones who say that readers don't care if customers notice an artist changes in the middle of a series. Is that true? I don't know if that's true. All right. I think that's it for me. Hey, can you do me a favor,
Yeah.
Mike?
What's up, buddy?
Is, what do you call it? Rob, are you still in chat? Or maybe
Rob,
Bell.
you in here, buddy?
Rob the Replicator, are you still in chat? Can somebody wrench Rob? Or do I have to do that? Do I have to do that? Did we not discuss
You
this
have
last
to-
week?
oh. Yeah, I think you've got a either command, /mod, or perhaps right click.
I'm just gonna find my own stream and then like wrench Rob. I'm finding my. Oh, you know what? Do I have to do this in using my
Why did it say
streaming account,
message
or
redacted?
do I have to do that? Do I have to switch accounts?
No, you should be able to do it yourself.
No. I'm saying like right now I'm
Yeah.
looking at it using my Canete account. Hold on.
Yeah, that should.
Oh, it's
Oh shit! Look who it is.
I can only report or
It's,
block this guy.
What? Throw a wrench at him.
Hold on.
Hang on.
I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna switch accounts and see if I can wrench him. Get ready to get wrenched, Rob. Rob the wrench. Before I leave, so I don't forget. I have to pee so bad.
I have to pee really bad too. Dude, look who it is, man. It's Mr. Colorist himself, colorist extraordinaire.
Okay, I just got
buddy.
like, an hour ago. I just threw as much love and accolades your way, friend. Chat won't come up. Actually, you know, I don't think Rob is meant to be wrenched, dude. Like, I'm having a hard time having him come up on chat just so I can right-click wrench him.
That is real weird. Colorists and letters don't get much love and attention like the artists, writers, and editors. Go for another hour, says the replicator himself.
What the hell?
Rob wants you to go for another hour.
Hell no, dude. You crazy?
Eric's got to go to sleep so he can get his 6 hours.
Here we go. There it is. There we go. Did that work?
No, he's got to write something. What's up, Winkler? What's up, Gurs? What's up, Rattail? Hello, hello.
All right, I think that's it for me.
Yeah. It's late.
Sleepy time, yo. All right, kids, if you're not already following me on my social media, you can both go to Instagram and Twitter and follow me there. I'm under @EricCanete. If you're not already signed up for my newsletter, please go to ericcanete.com/arc-athena-info. There'll be a link in chat for that. Sign up for the newsletter. We'll be able to, as a matter of fact, end of month, we get to choose Ooh, this is in about 8 days, Mike. Less than 7 days. We get to choose the first winner of this really, really super sexy Arc Athena prototype bust. We're gonna be sending that
You
out
are
to
going
you.
to fucking love that thing.
Yeah, we're sending that out to you. End of June, beginning of July, we get to draw one, and we roll everybody over to the next drawing. We're sending one right out to you, just for signing up for the low, low price of signing up in my newsletter. That newsletter will also contain a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, maybe even making of, maybe even just a ton of stuff that I don't typically put up on my social media. I'll also give you information on the campaign launch. If you're not already doing so, please follow my good friend Michael DiNicola on all of his social media. He's going to be at Michael DiNicola on both Twitter and on Instagram, as well as on his Twitch channel. If you're not already doing so, actually do this for me as well. Please subscribe, hit that bell, hit that notification bell so you know exactly when I go live. Another person I'd like to thank for being here is my good friend Belle. Bell4Tricks, thank you so much. Again, not following her, go to all of her socials. They should be up on chat very soon. Rob's campaign should still be going pretty strong right now. Rob Replicator.
Hey now.
Let's look at that Indiegogo campaign. That should be up on stream since he's got a wrench. If you could put a link up to that, Rob, I'd appreciate it. Thank you for being here, man. Is that it? Am I missing anything?
I think you got it all, bud.
Okay, all right, there's art, right? If you're really
did well.
interested in getting original art from me, please go to sequential.com. Look for my name.
I
If you're
dropped
not,
that link.
thank you so much for that. If you're not interested in getting something from me, please get something from the artist that is represented by my good buddy Jason Schachter. I'm sure you'll find something there to your taste. Other than that, come back next week,
Sure,
Tuesday,
hell yeah.
Pacific time, 8 p.m. And I will talk to you guys later. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for being here, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.